drop of magic. Clash in epic battles, where magic reshapes strategy. Unleash spells to transform the game. Attack! Defend! Trick! Master them all. Ready to duel in the realm of magic?
All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to Spells Rush Day 2. It's us again. My name is Johnfdong, and right now I'm here with
Hannah Sayce. Welcome in everybody to Anichess Spells Rush. We are going to see a really exciting tournament today. It is the finals. This is Anichess, ChessBase India, and also partner with Team Secret today for a huge tournament, big prize fund, and we are at the top 8. What do you think we're in store for today, John?
Well, actually, we saw some insane plays yesterday, unexpected comebacks, and moments that had us, and probably you on the edge of your seats right now, have also been surprised with what happened. And huge shout out to all the players who have brought the heat on that day one. So, probably the thing that makes me really reminiscent of what happened yesterday was the game between Portgas and West. What about you, Hannah?
Oh my gosh, every single game was just so exciting. It made me more excited to go and play Anichess after this because I was just like, this is so many creative spells happening. There was a really great game from Gray at the start. Portgas had an amazing comeback. There was a lot of highlights yesterday with some insane use of transcendent spells, but also a lot of other spells we saw used as well. It wasn't like, there was 1-3 combo that everyone was using. There was a lot of different ones being put up to use, which was super exciting.
Yeah, and it's not over yet since we're talking about day 2. And today, we're diving right back into the action with more intense and, these crazy matchups with all these crazy spells, like just what they added recently, the Transcendence. And of course, a few surprises waiting to unfold, as later on, we will be joined here with Grandmaster Anish Giri. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that's going to be really awesome having Anish on as a special guest. I don't know how much Anichess he's played, but he's definitely played a lot of chess, and he'll be able to give us some
spells, Parker Mech, and House Recruit. I think you also used this when you played Anichess before. So it's like you're creating a pawn from 3rd to 6th rank, and then later on turn that into a knight through Parker Mech spell. So having these two spells combined as you play Anichess, I guess it can be very dangerous, depends on the situation that you're in. What about you?
Yeah, no, I do love using those two spells together. It's always so satisfying to just, push a pawn somewhere and then suddenly you make a knight on the board. That's always really nice, especially in the end game. If you're maybe down a piece or your opponent only has some pawns left, then surprise, you make a knight somewhere, and then suddenly you're completely winning. So I really love the combo of that spell. Also, as I said, I love the Pounce and Pair spell. This one's really fun just because it freezes the opponent's piece. I really like when, maybe they put their queen on a square and they don't notice that I can slide my pawn to the side or something and freeze the queen. So there's lots of tricks with it because the pawns with Pounce and Pair, they can move in all different directions. They're not just limited to the way they would normally move. So I like Pounce and Pair, and using that with House Recruit is really fun because it's like you make a pawn and then you slide it somewhere for Pounce and Pair. So I really love that combo as well.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned yesterday that it can be countered or something that can interact with those stunned pieces, like Pengu Dive or something that can move that piece towards the next space or square, which can actually save that stunned piece. So maybe I'll ask this question to you, Hannah. What spell or spells do you hate in Anichess, since you've been playing this game for quite a while?
Oh, okay. There's a few ones that frustrated me. I did mention that Shot in the Dark was one that really annoyed me sometimes, because before I really understood it, I just randomly, somebody would make their piece invisible, and then suddenly on the next move it's attacking my king, and I just lose my king the next move. So that one is really annoying. And then also the pounce and pair annoyed me until I started using it for myself, and now I like it a lot more. But let's see what spells that the players tonight really enjoy.
Yeah,
And
super excited.
also, also there's a big prize fund for tonight. If we want to check that out, that is a $3,000 prize fund. Look at all those prizes we've got for everyone up until 32nd place, but it's the top 8 that we're looking at tonight. So those are the big prizes. You know, top 4 especially are taking home, first place is taking home $700. So this is really where we're going to see who's getting those big prizes.
Yep. And also, let's not forget those competing for tonight. We have Cole, Atherava, RL05, Frasa, Gray, Elijah, League, and Portgas. They will be competing for tonight's games. And hopefully we get to see what these spells, what are the strategies and tactics they prepared for tonight's game.
Yes, it's really coming down to the wire. I remember yesterday we were looking at these brackets and there was just like a massive list of names either side. You had to, you know, zoom in really hard if you wanted to see them. But now it's just 8 names left. It's really getting down to the wire, which is so exciting.
And also, I have to mention that right now we have one legend in this bracket, and he's the only one. There are 2 actually, but right now he's the only one. He's the only legend that made it to the top 8 here in this Spells Rush tournament. So, do you think he can win this tournament?
Well, I think for sure he can. I mean, having that legend status is not something that's easy to get at all. There was only 2 people that have achieved it this season. So, I mean, I would definitely say that you've got to be the favorite if you have the highest rating. But what do you think, John? Do you think that rating is really indicative of how the match is going to go, or is it just anyone can win for you?
Well, that's a tough question, but maybe you will not get to this rating if you're not that tough, right? But we see yesterday there was a game between Call and Camino, and Call managed to defeat Camino, even though Camino is one of the legends, the 2 legends in Anichess right now. So this just proves that even though you have a lesser rating, or maybe even though you have a higher rating, that doesn't really guarantee that you're going to be winning here in Anichess, because it's not just Anichess, it's Anichess.
Oh, I like that one. Not Anichess, Anichess. Yeah, no, the ratings, they can be misleading too. I mean, I remember underestimating people when I first started playing Anichess, and I'm like, oh, 1,500, how good can they be? And then they started going crazy, all of these spells. Oh my gosh, yeah. No, these players can be so strong, and you can't be fooled if their rating is not super, super high, I think.
Yeah, and let's not forget that if you create an account here in Anichess, you can start with very low rating, and guess what? You can upset someone who is around 1,600 or above, and then just like you mentioned that you're not actually taking it seriously when you saw the ratings, right? But who knows? Maybe they're just 2,000 plus, and they're just playing in a new account. So basically, that's how they do it here in the Philippines. Some of them are doing that because of the M8 points, and there's no problem with doing with that as long as you're complying with the rules. I guess so.
Yeah, and I think also just spells make it really unpredictable as well. Like, in a regular game of chess, your opponent knows all the threats at all time. If you're making a checkmate threat, they're going to be able to defend it. But with the spells included as well, it's not just the movement of the pieces, it's also got some more unpredictability. Like, you have to think about way more things at once. So these spells just add this extra strategical element that means that an upset can happen at any time, which is part of the thing I love about Anichess.
Yeah, I mean, in Anichess with these addition of spells, I mean, traditional chess is complicated, and having these spells, it makes it more complicated. Like I have to think about the theories, about the middle game, about the end game, and right now I have to also think about the spells. And the more spells you have, I mean, from 10, less than 10 spells, I mean, we're having more than spells, and I believe in the future we'll be having more than 10 spells, maybe around 20, or who knows, 50. And that makes Anichess unique and magical.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to ask, do you prefer castling or no castling in Anichess? Do you stick by the rules and develop pieces in castle, or what do you like to do?
Well, this question, I guess it depends on the spells that you and your opponent uses. Let's say, for example, if it's going to be the case with Transcendence, it's better to do a castle. But you also have to keep in mind that your H pawn or A pawn is not really safe, because if your opponent is really an attacker or tactical, he can use Transcendent spell to transcend the piece from the left edge over to the right edge, and who knows, maybe your H or A pawn isn't in good hands and your king could be slain. What about you? Do you
Yeah.
think castling will be a better choice or not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as you were saying, it really depends on what spells they're using. When my opponent does have Transcendence, I definitely want a castle just because, yeah, as we were talking about, it's that crazy spell where pieces can go all the way from the right side to the left side of the board, or the opposite way around as well. So I like to keep my king as safe as possible. Whereas other times, maybe it's better to leave it in the center. It really depends. Like sometimes your opponent has a bishop spell, so then if you're ever castling, they can just jump over the pawn and take your king. So you really have to think about, okay, would I prefer to play principal chess, or do I want to, make my king safe in a different way?
Yeah, you're right about that. Also, the thing that I have encountered from the past and until now, if my opponent is using an imposter spell like the ones you're seeing in your screens right now, so this swap one of your pieces with an opponent's piece of the same type. So imagine you're getting ready for a castling, but your opponent has an imposter spell and you don't have that imposter spell. So what happens is, if that opponent has enough mana to cast that spell, you're in grave danger. Because first thing, you're under check. Although here in Anichess, check are kind of, we can ignore the check because of the way you'll be defeated or the way you win is through Kingslay, right? So if you're not that prepared, you just think about the principles, you want to do some castling, and you forget about the imposter spell, definitely, again, you're in danger.
Oh no, that's happened to me before. The imposter spell is so tricky. I think especially when your opponent will swap their rook with your rook. And then if you've just started to develop your knight and your bishop, and then suddenly your rook is looking straight at your king, and then they put their rook down there, oh, then you're in trouble. And nothing can come back and block, and that's always a pain. So yeah, I've definitely fallen for that one a few times. And with imposter, you have to be
Mhm.
really, really careful, especially if you don't have imposter yourself. Because if you do have imposter as well, you can just go and swap the rooks back and pretend nothing happened.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. The use of imposter, you just have to reverse it back. However, again, I think it doesn't just happen on the king castling situation. It also happens when your queen is isolated. Because I have this experience with one of my opponents in a ranked match. So my queen is just sitting pretty here, alone, isolated, and then his queen is, heavily guarded by his pieces. Until he used the imposter spell, boom, the queen cannot leave that specific square because I don't have an imposter spell. And at the same time, it's a very close position. And my queen, before it gets
Ooh.
swapped, it's in a position or it's in a square wherein I don't have any piece that guards that queen. So I ended up losing my queen.
Yeah. Oh no, so that's like a whole new way to make a queen trap. Like that could be a way to trap the queen. Surround your queen with all of your
Exactly.
pieces and then at the right moment swap that around. Oh, so tricky. And there's just so many
Exactly.
strategies like this that just would never be possible without the addition of all these spells. I mean, I have to say that like chess is always so fun. But adding some extra element to it, I think it makes it even more exciting. It feels fresh, and I just love to see all the creativity, especially how different players use these different spells.
Yeah, especially tonight. I mean, it's intense yesterday, and who knows how intense the games will be today. Will be happening tonight, since we have one legend and yeah, pretty tough players are also competing tonight. So I guess the long wait is over, and for those who are watching right now, let's jump into our first game, shall we?
Yes, let's go. Okay, we've got Cole versus Atherava starting right now. We've got Slip, House Recruit, and Transcendence for Cole. And then Atherava has chosen Pengu Dive, Transcendence, and Pounce and Purr. So both using a little bit of a different strategy here. I think Cole's pick of spells is pretty standard. I mean, a lot of us are seeing Transcendence right now, House Recruit, and Slip all really popular. But Atherava has chosen a bit of a different strategy. What do you think about the Pengu Dive and Pounce and Purr use?
Yeah, actually, this is the first time I've seen these combination of spells, Pengu Dive with Pounce and Purr. Yup, if you use these two spells consecutively, I mean, you have to get an 8 full mana in order for you to execute or to use both of these spells. But I'm pretty excited right now how Atharava will execute, or how will he use these spells, especially in this position, because both of them have transcendence. And yeah, let's see what techniques, what style, or maybe what strategy do they have right now in this game. What about Call? What do you think would be Call's strategy for this game, Hannah?
Okay, so I've noticed that it's really common strategy when your opponent has Transcendence that you play pushing the pawns to h4 and a4, because those are usually the diagonals that the bishops want to come through with the Transcendence spell. So Cole here has played a little bit of a defensive setup where he has pushed those pawns to h4 and a4, and I like this. It just takes away counterplay from the opponent. And now the bishop comes in to attack that f7 pawn, which could be really scary for Atherava.
Yeah, actually, and having this bishop looking at that f7 pawn with a house recruit later on coming into the game, which again can spawn a pawn from 3rd to 6th rank, so it can be very powerful. Also with that slip, I think this pawn on g5 is actually preparing for a house recruit over on probably f6 or h6, and who knows how Slip will win this game if he will be able to manage that slip spell through those pawns that will be that will be placed over on the 6th rank here at Atharava's position.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think definitely the plan is to put a pawn on the 6th rank and attack that bishop on g7, and then maybe you're going to be able to either your opponent will sacrifice their bishop to take some of your strong pawns, or you'll be able to promote a queen, which is always very nice.
Yeah, and you see right now both of them have 8 out of 8 spells, and Atharava can actually use Pounce and Purr to stun this bishop on c4. However, Call has Transcendence, so maybe he can use Transcendence spell to save his bishop. But let's see what are the strategies we have for Atharava, since both of them have 8 out of 8 mana.
Yeah, for sure. Pounce and Purr is one that's, you know, it's that thing that you always want to use it, but it's never quite the right moment. I always notice this in my games, because a lot of the time your opponent can make some counterattack, and then the Pounce and Purr spell, okay, your opponent is now unfreezed and you've wasted 5 mana. So you really have to use it at just the right time when your opponent has no chance to attack one of your other pieces and do like a danger levels.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the reason why the pawn structures that we see with Call's position right now is in its formation like this one, because maybe he's trying to avoid to put his major pieces towards the game just because of the Pounce and Purr, but also maybe he's preparing for that slip, the one that we talked about a while ago, having that house recruit and then slipping it all the way towards the 8th rank of the opponent. Definitely that's the long-term plan. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with this. The pawn structure definitely looks like, well, the setup with the pieces, looks like he is keeping his pieces back so that they can't be attacked, and maybe he can use pounce and per in the future. And also this slip plan you talked about sounds like it could happen at some point. I would be tempted, he's got 3 pawns to make. I would be tempted to make a pawn on e5 and then on f6 and just get that massive diagonal of pawns down the center of the board. What do you think about this?
Sneak and slide.
Yeah, I think again that's the long-term plan, and seeing that g5 to f6 slip, I think the next move would be house recruiting on e5, and that will win him some material advantage. But let's not forget there's Pengu Dive, Transcendence, and Pounce and Per for Atherava's spell list. So I think Atherava can still counterattack this. But what do you think is the long-term plan of Atherava with these spells right now?
Now, after this move with g5, I'm actually thinking that Atherava might be in a bit of trouble because all of his bishops and are just locked behind his pawns. Like the bishop on b7 is stuck behind the d5 pawn, and then that f8 bishop also looks like it's not going to get out. So this is starting to look a bit uncomfortable, but Atherava might just be thinking maybe waiting for the right time to use the Pengu dive. Maybe he wants to hop that queen into e4 at some point, giving a check to the king, or just waiting for the diagonals to open so that he can transcend one of his bishops to a stronger diagonal. So you could see something like, what if we see something like h4, just to maybe see if he can transcend his bishop from b7 to h5.
Yeah, I think that's one of the plans, and it's a good thing that you mentioned that. However, maybe Call is also prepared to counterattack that one, maybe just defend it. And we can see that he's trying to control the center, while the black Atherava has managed to do a castle queenside in this position. We can still see that both of them doesn't have any clear plans yet, but they have managed to get into a best time control, because they haven't used most of their time. Unlike yesterday, most of the participants, most of the players, they are being left with like seconds in their time. That's why they're having a hard time to use their spells to plan it out for everything. But we can see a great plan right now.
Oh, I was just wondering about this move, e5. I did wonder why there wasn't pounce and per used in this position. Why do you think he chose... Oh no, it was, sorry. It was white playing. White does not have pounce and per. Because I was thinking, oh, that would be so good to play pounce and per and attack the queen. But white does not have pounce and per, so that makes a lot of sense. But that pawn chain looks incredible down the middle of the board for Cole. Really like Cole's position right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Especially if I have like Parker mech in this one, maybe that would be very helpful. But this is what I'm talking about, the long-term plan. Look at that pawn on f6 and h6. So with that slip spell, he could have just used that later on for putting his f or h pawn to g7 and getting that material advantage. So what's the next for Atherava?
Yeah.
What do you think would be the counterattack?
Okay, let's try and come up with something for black here, because it's not looking amazing, but we're gonna make something work. Okay, so maybe we need to sacrifice something at this point to try and get some of our pieces opened up. I would be tempted to just start maybe pushing the c pawn. Maybe we want to play something like c5 and just sort of break up the opponent's pawn chain because it's so strong in the middle. And maybe just sacrifice some pieces just to try and open up the position and see if you can use some of your spells like Pengu Dive to give a check, or like Atherava still has almost all of his spells, so I think it's a good time to start using them.
Yeah, that's a nice insight, and right now they have used both of their transcendent spell. That h6 pawn transcended into a7, so taking that knight on a7 with a check on king to b8. So I guess Atherava didn't see that coming because of the transcendent spell that has been used all the way to the a4 pawn.
Now black can transcend and take that rook though, so that's a nice material advantage. And okay, here the king just goes back. The knight looks scary on b5, but I don't think it's really too much to worry about. now black has that
Yeah.
open h file with the rook coming down, and white doesn't have enough mana for a transcendence spell.
Quiet as a whisper, slip and
Yeah, this is getting scary right now. I mean, black is down a piece, but that rook on h1 is very active. But they still have transcendence. For Atherava, he still have one transcendence left and two for call. And let's see how this will work, since Pengu Dive is also on the line. Maybe that can be used to do a mating combination. Who knows? But yep, what do you think is the next plans here for call?
Yeah, so I really liked Cole's use of the slip spell to move that pawn back to f1, and now since he hasn't enough mana to transcend, that rook is gone and captured the rook on h1. So now I think that rook's going to infiltrate, maybe go up to the h8 square. You can pin the king, and then maybe start trying to bring in the queen, all of the other pieces to join the attack as well. I would even move the bishop back to g3 maybe, so it can transcend onto a different diagonal.
Yeah, you're right about that. However, yeah, there's also a one transcendence left for call. You can actually use that, but yeah, decided not to. With this rook takes c8, planning on knight a7, forking the king and queen. I guess this is just normal chess, and he can win later on, just by
Oh,
doing
but you
some
can
regular
pounce some per here maybe.
principle. He can, but I don't think he'll use it.
Oh,
Yeah.
if you pounce some per, then there's going to be a transcendence taking the king, right? Oh, okay, you can pounce some per like that.
Yeah. So he pounds in for that knight with that c7 to
Yeah, because
b7.
otherwise,
However, it doesn't stop the fork.
yeah, otherwise that bishop was going from
Hmm.
e2 and then transcending through h5, a6, and then going and taking the king. So that was really the only defense, but yeah, losing a queen is probably too much. And great job to Cole. Cole is doing amazingly. I mean, yesterday, Cole's game, he was also so dominant. And today, I mean, just getting that massive pawn chain, using the slip spells when necessary, and then transcendence to give, to win material when needed. I think this was a really nice display of Anichess spells here. What did you think about the game, John?
Yeah, it's a great game. We can see the long-term plan, and yeah, he managed to use that combination of spells. You asked me a while ago what do you think, what I think about the combination of spells, like two combination of spells, and right now I can see that House Recruit and Slip, this works great as well. So we can see that in today's first match. So Call has managed to use this House Recruit through the pawn structures that he built in that game, and that actually leads to victory against Atherava.
Yeah, and then Cole goes into that top four alongside, it looks like Portgas is also in the top four.
Yep, Portgas has advanced, and we still have Elijah against Gray, and we have Frasa against RL05.
Yep, so who do you think we're going to see in the grand final? Do you think it's going to be Cole versus Portgas, or who's your pick?
Well, again, Cole and Portgas, they both live from the Philippines, so maybe the best one, may the best man win in this match. I don't want to be biased because I think both of them are my friends, or probably from the national scene. But again, may the best man win.
Okay, absolutely. So you'll be happy pretty much no matter who wins, right?
Yeah, you're right about that.
As long as we get a good match to watch, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yes, that's what we're after. As long as they showcase a great match tonight, that will be fine for me.
Yes, okay, so we still have like quite a lot of matches to go tonight, which is so exciting. I think we're just going to see more and more exciting chess. You can really tell, I mean, compared to yesterday, I felt like the games were a lot more uneven, whereas these ones are coming really close down to the wire. Both players know how to use their time, use their spells, and now we're seeing the next match between Frasa, a 1926, one of the highest rated players on Anichess right now, versus RLO. So yeah, let's see what happens here.
Yep, RLO5 actually is from Canada and Frasa is from Hungary. So RL05 has Slip, House Recruit, and Transcendence, while Frasa has House Recruit, Transcendence, and Queen Time. So they just differ with one spell. However, I'm guessing RL05 has the same strategy with Call, but let's see how is it going to be different with Call this time. So what's your biases, or maybe what do you think about these spells that we have for Frasa? Do you think this is something that you haven't seen yet, or what?
Okay, I'm really interested with what RLO5 is doing with the pawn structure here, right? There's pawn on b4, c3, and d4. This is not something you really see ever usually, and I don't think we've seen this in Anichess really either. What do you think is the idea here?
The idea here, since RL05 has a transcendent spell, so maybe he wants to transcend that queen from d1 all the way to a4 to h5 on to f7, and later on maybe he's gonna be putting that knight from g1 all the way to f3 to e5 or g5. Maybe that's the plan, and that's one of the reasons probably why g6 was also moved, just to quickly defend that plan, and to also allow that bishop from f8 to transcend later on if it has a chance to transcend all the way from f8 to e1. But right now, what do you think is the plan here for Frasa?
Yeah, so Frasa is also creating a big pawn chain over there with the pawns on the light squares. I guess this is acting as a little bit of a shield towards the king in case RLO5 is going for any transcendent spells in the future. And then they're almost playing it like a King's Indian defense. Like this almost looks like a normal chess opening for black here. So somewhat sticking to the principles, maybe playing a little bit of a more passive setup, just waiting to strike at the right moment. Whereas RLO is really looking like they're wanting to play more for the attack. And I have noticed that a lot of players tend to use the slip spell to slip the e pawn to f3. Do you know why this is kind of a meta?
I think it's just one of I consider a waiting move, because if you do some slip, it also steals one mana from your opponent. So maybe that's one of the reason, or to also have that bishop from f1 to be activated, although they could move like e4. But in this position, since the position the pawns here on c3 and b4 and d4, yep, there's no ways you can push the e4.
About the transcendent spell. I was wondering if it's about the transcendent spell, like to put the pawn on f3, right? Because maybe if you push e4 as white, the bishop can come from a6 round to h5 and take your queen. So this is maybe like a blockade against the transcendent spell, just because I saw white do the same thing where they slipped that pawn from e2 to f3 in the last game. Nope, never mind, they push now with f4, so maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about, but interesting play by both sides so far.
Yeah, also what I think with this slip from e to f, probably a preparation for that e5 square, because RL05 has a house recruit spell. Maybe that's one of the long-term plans for here. But let's see what he has in mind. Both of them having more than 3 minutes on their time with that h5 pawn move. Maybe he's preparing for a house recruit on that g6, and since there's a pawn on f4, he cannot just go g5 because he'll be down by a pawn. So maybe that's the plan.
Yeah, and it seems like that the player that is pushing a lot of pawns and creating a lot of space tends to be coming out on top in the games that we've watched so far. So at the moment, I think that RLO actually has a really great position here. We've just had these bishops traded. What do you think? Do you think you would prefer RLO's position or Frasa's?
Well, yeah, I agree with you on this one that RL05 has a better position. However, that bishop, that light squared bishop, has been traded off through Transcendent Spell, so maybe that adds more advantage to RL05's advantage right now, because he still has 3 Transcendent Spell, while Frasa only have 2 Transcendent Spell. But let's not forget, there's a Queen time. So maybe this knight can do a Queen time and exchange that over maybe a rook or a queen if it's lucky. So yeah, there's always a threat of that Queen time.
Yeah, Queen Time is such a dangerous spell, and that's why it costs 7 mana, the most expensive spell in the game. And that's when any of your pieces like a rook, bishop, or knight can move like a queen just for 1 move in the game, but it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, you're right, because yeah, that's why it's more powerful, and they have to put a lot of mana in order for you to do that spell, and it only allows you to cast one of these spells.
Welcome aboard, fresh
Now we can
spawn.
see House Recruit on e6, and then House Recruit as a defensive response to that e6 with g6. So e takes f7, king takes x7, and right now RL05 still have 5 mana left, and maybe we can see him doing like House Recruit on e6 again, or maybe just moving back like this one. But for you, what do you think about that? Those other pieces on the 8th rank, do you think they're just waiting for the right moment, or it's because of white being very active right now?
Well, yeah, I actually noticed that both players have a lot of pieces still on the back rank. I notice in these Anichess games there's a lot of pawn movements, and the pieces kind of wait to come out later because they're a lot more vulnerable, I guess, to big attacks if you start developing your pieces too early. So I honestly like how both of these players are just right now trying to use the pawns, and rather than bringing out the pieces too early. But the only thing I'm worried about is Frasa's king over there on f7. It could be vulnerable to some attacks later on. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, you're right, because imagine if there's no pawn on that g square, that queen from d1 can actually transcend all the way from d1 to a4 and h5 to e8. And with that king on f7, again, the goal here for white right now is to remove that pawn on g6 so that he could use the transcendent spell. So maybe that's
right, so
one
you're
of the
threatening to play
short-term
the
plan for white.
Yeah. You're threatening to play f5 right now, and then as John was saying, if you play f5 and that g pawn takes, you can use that transcendent spell to bring the queen all the way around and capture the king by going queen to a4 all the way around to h5. Yeah, f5 is on the board, and this is really tricky. So what do you do here? You have to maybe first take with the e pawn, and then what are you going to do? You need to buy yourself some time somehow.
Yeah, actually, this is going to be very tricky for black. But I think Frasa with this elo rating, I don't think he will fall for this trap. So that ef5 and probably gf5, so that g pawn has to go, or maybe he'll do a king move. Okay, so we see rook e8
Okay,
checking
here we
that
see a check.
king on e1. Yes.
Yeah, I
that
do
check
like this
on,
move.
on
Yep.
the e file. Yeah, I mean, it's also delaying that decision on if it's going to be taken or not. But with knight e2, that removes the threat of transcendence. And let's see what's the response here in this position.
Yeah, right. And you did mention that a lot of black's pieces were on the back rank a few moves ago, but now it looks like white is the one that has a lot of pieces on the back rank, right?
Yeah, totally agree. And that queen side pieces right now, they're getting very active, and not to mention Frasa has 8 mana now, so yeah, he can just use queen time later for this position, save it to capture the queen, or probably just get the high ranking piece like rook, or maybe remove some of the king's coverings right now here. So maybe yeah, we can see a slight advantage for black for having these pieces going active.
Oh, we saw an interesting use of transcendence right now. The rook transcended around the board from A1 to G1. And usually transcendence is being used when you want to capture a piece or win some material, but here this was just to try and activate a piece that was stuck behind all the others. So this was an interesting move, and I do actually like the creativity here.
Yeah, that's the beauty of playing Anichess. So it's not just about the use case of taking. We can see that RL05 used Transcendence in order to make his position better. So that transcending from A1 to G1, that's actually adding like an activity to his pieces. Maybe he tried to regroup in this one and adding some pressure since he has a pawn on G6, and probably this could be used later on for a slipping combination since he has a slip spell right here, and he has just used the house recruit on A6. I mean, this is a preparation later on for maybe like a capture thing over on H7.
Or a slip spell?
So, yep, there's a plan.
Yeah.
The way I see
So
this,
that
he'll
pawn
just
is,
wait for a mana.
Yes, absolutely. Both players are getting really low on time though. This is both with 20 seconds left to go. This is when things get crazy.
Yes, this is going to get crazy right now. Oh, yeah. Both have the same Transcendence cast. They still have 2 Transcendence spell left. And I'm seeing something here. So maybe RL05 will go H7 slip and then capture it with Transcendence from A6 to H7. That's the short-term plan.
Yeah, I think that also the A6 pawn, maybe it was a little... Oh, there goes queen time. Queen time was used finally. That knight went from A4 to D1. You're thinking about, we're both thinking about Transcendence so much that we're forgetting about queen time here. But now...
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
RL lost his queen.
That queen time has its own use case, and it has been used very cleverly. All right, takes D1. Oh no, fork king at D4.
Yeah, this is now looking great for Frasa. Just some great play under low time here. I'm just wondering if there's any sneaky transcendent spells. Arlo is just trying to hide away and put his king where it's not going to be attacked as easily. I like this strategy, but being down a queen and with 3 seconds left to go, it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's not definitely looking good for RL05, knowing that the bishops have are eliminated on his side, so that transcendence spell can only be used for probably the rook if he has a chance. But yeah, knowing Frasa, well, definitely Frasa can get this material advantage into a victory.
Oh, and here we go. The pieces are being sacrificed, and now the king is just trying to run and run and run.
Yep. I don't think these spells can still contribute in the defend. Oh no. King
and
F3.
There we go. Oh, that's the most tricky thing about Anichess, is it lets you move your king into a check, like into a place where your king can be captured. So really you have to be so careful at the end, like, oh my gosh, is my king hanging on any of these squares? But yeah, that was a crazy game. Frasa played it slow, but played it very well when it mattered. And what is playing this game?
Yeah, actually, that's actually a pretty patient game for Frasa. You see how that queen time spell has been used. Actually, Frasa's just waiting for the right time for that spell to be used, and maybe it's the time that makes it more really confusing for RL05, because he's lacking of time, and maybe that adds up to the pressure, and it doesn't seem to care. He was not paying attention too much that there's a queen time threat. That's why his queen was eliminated in the game.
Yeah, when you have to think about both those spells at once, like trying to think about where everything can transcend, and then also trying to remember that any of your opponent's pieces can move like a queen at any time. I think that when you have 10 seconds left, it's almost impossible, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Since Transcendence has a lot of opportunities for that specific piece to move from left to right. And then there's like queen time, that's also, watching if you're gonna make a mistake. And definitely this queen time spell can, really cause some damage to you. That's why having a less time is not really good for a Anichess player. But right now, again, we have Call, we have Portgas, and also Frasa for the top four.
Yeah, and we've got one matchup remaining to see who is going to be in these semi-finals. So we've got Elijah versus Gray, and Elijah was that one legend player that we mentioned that has a 2,000 plus rating. But Gray played a really great game yesterday that we got to witness. So I think this is going to be a really nice matchup, and I'm very excited to see this one.
I'm so excited to watch this one because in some of Gray's game, she managed to upset some of the high-rated players in Anichess, and let's see tonight if she will be doing the same thing with Elijah, one of the legends here in Anichess. You can check that on the leaderboards. And without further ado, maybe we can hop into the game. That's Elijah against Gray.
Let's go. Okay, here we go. Let's check out these spell choices. And they choose the same ones. Slip, House Recruit, and Transcendence. So they both got the same spells. Sometimes it's easier when you both have the same spells because you're kind of keeping track of all of the movements that are possible with the spells that you have. So if your opponent has the same ones, it's not some like additional things that you need to be thinking about.
Yeah, correct. And at the same time, as you can see, they both know the strategies. They are both doing the same pawn positions, like pushing that A and H pawn, having that slip spell for E pawn going to the F square. So these are the questions we had a while ago, and right now maybe this will answer it. So yep, having the same spells, you're right about that. It's not going to be very difficult. However, this will also, give them both fair chances, fair game, because both of them doesn't have any advantage at all, seems, since they have both the same set of spells. What do you think about the pawn structures here for both Gray and Elijah? Which do you think would you prefer if you're gonna be playing this one?
Okay, I was just thinking these are some crazy looking pawn structures. You'd never see this in regular chess. Like if you saw people playing this in regular chess, you'd be very confused. But that pawn cube I'm seeing for Elijah, that G6, F6, F7, and G7 pawn, that looks interesting. But it does seem like I really like White's pawn structure. Actually, it looks maybe more aesthetically pleasing. Don't know which one is strategically better though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right about that. And we can see that the A5 transcended in capturing that H4 pawn. So yeah, sometimes it's not really good to have the same strategy and facing against someone who has the same set of spells, because having this position right now, one pawn down for Gray. But one less transcendent spell for use with Elijah. So let's see what's the response with Gray having that H file open for his rook on H1.
Yeah, so Elijah's taken a really valuable pawn there, as he said, but again has used one of his transcendent spells, and now we see rook takes H4. Now what's the strategy here?
Well, I believe he takes that H4 pawn.
And
you're
does
right.
the bishop
You're
transcend?
right.
Yes, it does. Yay. But I'm wondering if the queen
they're
can
equal.
also... Can the queen also transcend? Oh no, he doesn't have enough mana, but that queen from D8 could transcend and take that bishop, right? Going to A5
Yes,
and then
you're
round
right
the other
about
way.
that.
So that could have been like back-to-back-to-back transcendence, but not enough mana for black here for now.
Yes, that's the beauty of Anichess. You really have to keep in mind about your mana, the use of your spells, if that's the right time to use, or if it's if it's going to be valuable, like that one use of transcendence in taking that pawn and capturing it back with a rook, and reusing transcendence to capture back that lost pawn. So both of them having more than 3 minutes in their time. So I guess this is going to be an interesting game. And having that slip I'm actually looking forward how they will utilize this slip spell, knowing that both of them has it. So what do you think would be the use case for the slip spell in this game?
Okay, let's see. So there's still 4 casts remaining for Grey. So I think that using it in combination with the House Recruit, as we've seen by some other players before, could be really nice. Like maybe you want to put a pawn on like b6 or something like that. Then maybe at some point you could slip it to c7 if that queen loses defense. Like maybe if you do House Recruit on c5 and then b6 in d7, something like this. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this, but however, we cannot really remove the fact that both of them have slipped, have these spells. So maybe they could just imitate the other plans or the other players' plans. With this G4, I'm guessing is actually preparing for the use of slip spell, and they both have 3 house recruits. So I don't know what's the plan here, but yep. That knight can transcend all the way from H file all the way to the other side of the board. So if Grey will not be
There
so
is a
careful
checkmate
enough, then
threatened
that
right now, though. I
There
will say
is.
that knight on
Yeah,
h4
there
is
is.
threatening checkmate with knight takes f3, and I don't think any spells can save
Yeah.
that. So that's a bit sneaky.
Yeah,
You can't
you're-
fall for that one.
actually, and maybe this is a blunder because that rook on a1, it's hanging. You see that queen on d6, it can transcend all the way to a1.
It can. Okay, will Elijah use his transcendence spell here? It looks pretty good.
Let's see. Yeah, I think there's no counter attack to that. That a1 rook is not going anywhere. I believe that removal of queen from d1 square is a blunder because it cannot capture back that queen on a1 through transcendence. Having that queen on
So
b3
what might you
won't be
have
able
played
to use the transcendence.
instead? What would you have played instead of
D6.
queen d3 here?
Well, maybe that knight move. I'd rather have knight d2 because of if I've seen the transcendence, but maybe because of the pressure, maybe that adds up to the reason why that transcendence move have been overlooked by Grey. So let's see if that's gonna happen still.
Transcendence is not happening, so I'm wondering whether Elijah is waiting for something better, sees, a bigger plan in this position, maybe thinks that rook on a1 isn't all that useful anyway, so why waste a transcendence cast on this rook? Like, it's not really going anywhere.
Maybe that's one of the reasons Elijah has in mind. That a1 rook isn't going anywhere. It's not that useful right now. So why would I trade off my one use of transcendence just to capture that rook? And maybe my queen can, won't have any squares to go if I go for that rook. Maybe that's one of the. Maybe those are the thoughts that Elijah has in mind.
Oh, okay, so here the king moves to f8. I guess on e8 there was a threat again of transcendence that maybe Grey could have played her queen transcending over a6 and through that diagonal from h7 to g8. So maybe Elijah just didn't want to take his queen away from there to lose defense of it, and instead wants to move the king.
Yeah, you're actually right about that. But let's not forget, transcendence only costs you 4 mana, and you can save for up to 8 mana. So let's say if Elijah used that transcendence spell for the queen, going all the way to a1, and then let's say transcendence has also been used by Grey, going from d3 square to g8, having that attacks, you can just simply go to e7, and let's say queen takes c8, that rook can recapture that queen on c8 through transcendence spell. So yeah, those are some variations, some scenario that could happen if Elijah went for that a1 rook.
Yeah, there's just so many tactics with transcendence. I mean, it must have been a little easier to play Anichess before this spell was added, right?
Yeah, you're correct about that. And yep, Transcendence really adds more tension, more variety to the gameplay of Anichess. So, yep, 1 against 7 mana.
Yeah, Gray did use a lot of mana there, I believe, using that House Recruit spell, adding an extra pawn to the board over on the king side, and also just slipping a pawn over to h4, maybe trying to
Oh,
push. And now the queen finally takes on a1 using Transcendence. That's been possible for a while.
yeah. Maybe he's just waiting for the
A
time.
diagonal dash.
And right now we can
Quick
see
as a
that
flash.
this low mana scenario cannot really do anything for that queen to be captured here in this a1 square. Maybe that's the reason why he's not going for it. Maybe he is afraid that his queen can be lost and doesn't have any square left to go to. But no, yep, I guess it can escape any circumstance here in this position.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And you said low mana. It really hurts when something like this happens and you just don't have enough mana to use any of your spells. Feels very sad. You're like, I could have used Transcendence to get out of this, but now I have no mana. But now Elijah is bringing in all the pieces to attack. And yeah, whether it's Anichess or real chess,
Build the
having
blanks.
this few pieces, it's not looking good
From humble ground,
for Gray.
new pawn is crowned.
Yeah, you're right about that. And that house recruit on h3, this adds more pressure to this. And having that slip spell as well can, hasten up this promotion. So let's see how will this game go since both of them having less than 1 minute on their time.
Yeah, we are getting down to the low time stage now. So this is, yeah, as I said before, when the crazy stuff happens, this is when pieces start hanging everywhere, and none of us know what's going on. So
as a
let's see
flash.
what happens here. Elijah's a little lower on time actually, so maybe this could hurt him even though he has an advantage here.
Yeah, actually, it adds pressure, and at the same time, you cannot think a lot if you have lesser time. So we can see some exchanges here, and yeah, maybe that queen on a1 is not being so useful. So going to b1 is actually way more useful. However, he has to keep in mind that there are also knights that are guarding these pawns, and that queen isn't going anywhere yet unless he has the Transcendence spell. Good thing Gray doesn't have any Transcendence spell yet. Oh, that's good. So he was just waiting for that time.
Yeah.
I was about to talk
that
about
was
it.
nice.
But already did.
Okay, no Transcendence left for Elijah now.
Yes, no Transcendence left, but he's up a rook. And in this position,
Yeah.
It's getting really difficult for white to have a fair fight in this position. But let's see how Gray will be managing to
Welcome
use that
aboard,
additional
fresh
2
pawn.
Transcendence in order to gain advantage.
Yeah, and that's what I think we talked about, how the knights are not
Sneak
the
and
best
slide.
pieces
A
for
diagonal
Transcendence
stride.
because they just can't move as far. But now Slip was used to promote a queen there, and yeah, that's just always a really nice way to use Slip, promote a queen on a square that you would usually you wouldn't be able to do it. And the regular promoting squares may be guarded. You just slip one square to the side, and suddenly that's just making a free queen. So yeah, the stronger player wins in that game. Where did you
Yeah.
think was the turning point?
Well, I mean, both of them have the same spells, right? And then I think it started when that a1 rook has been left hanging. I think that's the starting
Yeah.
point where the conflict started, and both of them have their own strategies. But yeah, I guess that's the time when Gray really lost it. Although she has a time advantage, she has more than 10 seconds against Elijah's time, but that really didn't help because I think Elijah is thinking very fast. That's why he was able to cope up. But what about you? What do you think is could be the blunder, or maybe what are the moments here in this game that you think is the most memorable?
Yeah, I think you talked about when that queen moved up to d3 and then that rook on a1 was left hanging. That was when there started to be some problems, because what Elijah did was not just grab that rook, which I think a lot of us would just do that, be like, okay, I can use Transcendent Spell, I'm going to take that rook. But Elijah just built the pressure, like bringing in more pieces to attack and then finally taking that rook when Gray needed to just start putting the pieces only to defend the king. And yeah, then it became really difficult. So yeah, I think the same point as you. When that rook became hanging, it was downhill from there. And yeah, here we have the brackets. We've got the 4 people in the finals. Right here, we've got Portgas, Fraser, Elijah, and Cole.
Yep, and they're going to compete for tonight. And I hope you guys can wait later on, because later in this stream, we'll be joining with Grandmaster Anish Giri. So please stay tuned, as he will be joining us in this stream. Maybe we can have some quick break. And if you guys haven't taken your dinner, your breakfast, your lunch, well, go grab some, because later's commentary will be about this intense games.
Step beyond tradition. With a drop of magic. Clash in epic battles where magic reshapes strategy. Unleash spells to transform the game. Attack! Defend! Trick! Master them all. Ready to duel in the realm of magic?
And we're back. Okay. Yeah, down to four, right? We only have four players now. The top four players.
Yep, it's getting to only just the very end, and we only have 4 players left to play off for that big $700 prize for first place. And yeah, it's going to be some big matchups we see right now to see who is going to go into the finals. First, we have Cole versus Elijah. Cole has been pulling off a lot of upsets. We've seen Cole winning against way stronger players. Elijah, obviously, very famous for being the legend player over 2000 ELO. So Elijah's got the rating, but Cole has been playing very well as well.
Yeah, you're right about that. We've seen Cole defeated a 2000 plus rating yesterday. And yeah, let's see what Cole has in his repertoire to defeat Elijah. And we also have, on the next one, we have Portgas against Frasa. So, yep. This is going to be a great fight. For those who haven't watched the Frasa match a while ago, it was indeed a great match. And of course, we have Portgas, who have been one of the champions from the previous tournaments here in Anichess. So let's see what spells or what strategies and tactics can they offer for this final matches.
Yes, these will be 2 big matches. And yeah, Portgas and Frasa both also really strong players. And as you said, Portgas was champion, winning some tournaments. I don't know whether Frasa has as well, but also a really strong player. So yeah, really the best of the best we're going to see right now.
Yeah, and so far, I think my favorite game, just the replays that we have, I guess would be again Elijah against his opponent. So, yep, Elijah made a strong use case of those spells against Gray, and we can see both of them having the same spells, and yet the stronger player prevails. What about you? What's your favorite match here in tonight's tournament?
Oh, that was a pretty exciting one. I did also really enjoy that match just because, I don't know, as you said, they both had the same spells, but then you could see how, they were using them a bit differently. And yeah, Elijah, I think, is really the player to beat right now. If you've beaten him, he's the strongest by rating. And also it seems like he's just very, very skilled also at the game. So I think that would be the player I'm most afraid of right now. But yeah, we had a lot of exciting games today. I think all of them were really, really fun. But yeah, that last one definitely stood out just because of that use of Transcendence, taking the rook, and just complete great attack by Elijah.
Yeah, speaking of exciting, of course, most of our viewers right now are very excited because later on we will be joined by Grandmaster Anish Giri for this stream. So yes, he will be commentating on the succeeding matches. So if you're up and you want to hear about his commentary, about his thoughts as we play Anichess, as we review all of these games, definitely stay tuned in this stream.
Yep, and that's going to be really quite soon now that he's going to join us after these guys find out who's in the final. Then Anish is going to join us for the big final match between the 2 best players.
You're right. and we're just waiting for them to get ready because this is getting really intense. And yep, it's gonna be Elijah against Cole and Portgas against Frasa. I mean, these are championship matches, so definitely it's getting intense, and I'm really excited. So, do you think, Hannah, they will be using the same set of spells, or would they use another set of spells in order to kind of have this element of surprise to their opponents? What do you think?
Oh, I wonder. Now, I think we might see that used in the next round, because right now we still have a best of one, right? So you want to use your 3 best favorite spells that you know you're going to do well in. But then in the finals, which is just going to be between 2 players, they are going to play a best of 3 match. So there you might want to change up your spells a little bit, see if you want to throw your opponent off, especially maybe if you feel like you're not getting the results you want. Maybe you want to come back and try something different. So yeah, I think that in this round right here, we're probably going to see players sticking to their guns, maybe using the Transcendence spell, the House Recruit, and the Slip, which has been basically what most players have been using right now.
Yeah, and yep, I'm really excited, just like you. So maybe we can hop on to our first semifinals match. So yeah, maybe a few seconds, a couple of minutes, we'll be ready. So guys, that you're watching right now, if you're watching right
Here
now
we
on
are.
YouTube, on Twitch, here we are. It's Elijah against Call. All right.
Oh, and I'm really excited for this match because I feel like both of these players have been playing incredibly strong, and I just want to see what it's like when these two face off.
Yeah, and speaking about face off, let's talk about their spells. So as we can notice right now, they both have the same set of spells, having Slip, House Recruit, and Transcendence, and having this similar openings here, having that pawn structure and that H pawn move. Well, let's see who will prevail in this match.
Yeah, so it really seems like, they've worked out exactly what setup they want to get, push these B, C, D pawns, push the H pawn, and yeah, the players have just been using this same kind of opening setup. Seems to be just the best way to play right now. It's really fun in Anichess because it's kind of like you don't really have engines in Anichess. You have to make up your openings a little bit. So all the players seem to follow like the meta really, really strongly.
Yeah, you're right about that. You cannot really rely on your chess engines right now, since Anichess has these spells. So definitely you cannot just make a one preparation, and yeah, the combination of different spells can really lead to a completely different results. So as we can see right now, even though the pawn structures here for black isn't that great compared to white, but because of these spells, anything can happen. Like if you decide to slip that F pawn to E pawn, that can easily fix the pawn structure problem with pawn islands. And yep, there's also House Recruit, where you can actually spawn a pawn from 3rd to 6th rank, depends on what utility or what use case for that pawn is to be on use. But for you, Hannah, which of these positions do you prefer, the white or black?
Okay, I'm actually going to take black here. I like that bishop out on d6. It looks strong, and we've got that h pawn on h5. And then I'm also thinking, okay, the slip spell is very useful because if we ever have double pawns, we can just slide one of them, slip one of them to the side, and then you no longer have double pawns. And now he's created this pawn on e5, so we have this strong center for black. So I really like black's position. What about you?
Well, while I agree with you on this point of view towards the black position, however, maybe there's a reason why white has this position, and that rook on h file. Maybe that could lead to something later on. Maybe he can do some battery, like maybe rook h3 or rook h2 rather, and then put that rook from a1 to h1. Seems like that's a pretty interesting idea, but of course, this is Elijah. So I can't really think what he's thinking right now. He's one of the legends, so probably he has a long-term plan here. Maybe that he can do like g4, because that rook on h8 is hanging until he has that transcendence spell. So yeah, let's see, since Call is now pawn storming with his pawns over here at the queen side as well.
Yeah, and you just start to take notice to each of the players' styles in Anichess. I've noticed in almost all of the games that Cole just is going crazy out of the opening and just pushing all the pawns, and it seems to be working right now. So do you think this is maybe just the way that you should be playing, just pushing all the pawns and attacking?
Well, that's a good question, right? But maybe because they have this slip spell, that's one of the reasons why pushing pawns are not so bad here in Anichess. You know, in normal chess, if you push a lot of your pawns and you're not really developing most of your pieces, that is some violation to the opening principles and stuff. But here in Anichess, you don't really violate anything if you have these spells, because you can just maybe, do some reversals, add some new pawns, spawn some pawns, and transcend some, pieces over from left to the right side of the board. So it's pretty crazy here in Anichess. That's why I don't think pushing too much of these pawns are more of a violation. Maybe that's more of a style, I guess, for Call.
Ooh, okay, and we see a house recruit from Elijah here. And yeah, as you're talking about, that rook on h8 had that pin against it. So now Elijah can go and take that rook, but then Cole can use a transcendent spell just to recapture, bringing that a8 rook over to take on h8. But yeah, Elijah doesn't go to this. Instead, decides that they want the active rook on the h-file and transcends their rook over.
Yeah, I actually commend Call's plan, because it seems like he was also eyeing for that f pawn to go, because anytime he can push that a pawn as well and transcend that queen from d8 to that e1 king. So yep, if that happens, definitely white is in serious trouble. But yep, Elijah is Elijah. He's a legend, so he didn't fall for it. He doesn't want to take that rook on the h8. That's why this happened.
Okay, and here we have e4. This is an interesting move, pushing forward. Don't know whether white is going to take that knight on g3 though, with the transcendence. Oh! Did we just have a queen blunder from Elijah?
I guess so. That e4, maybe
wow.
he didn't see the mana for Call, and he was able to transcend that bishop all the way to the d1 square. And that's, that adds up to the challenge. Again, we've seen Call upsets a lot of players with high Elo rating, and maybe this is going to be it. Another upset. Who knows? Yeah,
wow. Cole is just not missing any of these tactics. And yeah, that was a tricky move, e4, and it looked like it was just a pawn that you could just grab it and take it, and suddenly the queen is gone. So yeah, that's when Transcendent Spell can be very, very tricky.
Yeah, and also the challenging part for Elijah right now, both of them have two Transcendent Spell uses rather, and I don't think this having more slip. Oh yeah, he has also less than slip uses. So basically, this is going to be very difficult for Elijah with this no queen and the same spells. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one, but if anyone can do it, it's got to be a legend player. So, we'll hope that 2,000
Build
elo
your ranks. Fill the blanks.
comes in handy and he can make some tricks. Now there's the pawn on h6 that's threatening to move forward, maybe promote on h8 at some point. So yeah, there's still some threats keeping the game alive. That pawn could also be slipped over to g7 and then up to h8 to promote as well. So lots of ideas with the slip spell for Elijah right now.
Yeah, actually, if I'll be playing Call, I'd take that pawn on h6. I don't want to, I don't want to have some trouble, because yeah, you're right about slipping through g7 and maybe that rook from h1 go to h8 instead of just pushing that pawn, because black still has two Transcendent Spell left, and if he just push this pawn, definitely the promoted pawn will not be so useful anymore.
Yes, exactly. As you said, it gets rid of the passed pawn and it's a lot less scary when you take it. But I was just thinking, okay, so now if we count the material, both sides have a rook and a knight, and then black has a queen, but white has two bishops. So it's two bishops for the queen. I wonder in low time, is it almost better to have the two bishops as opposed to the queen for sneaky transcendence spells? Because then you have two pieces to work with, to transcend with. That's what I'm wondering. What do you
Well, I'm
think?
with you. Actually, I'm with you in this wandering idea right now because, yep, I think the pressure is still there. Although you have the queen, but yes, you're having less than
A
2
clever
minutes in
diversion.
time. So
Slipping
this
into
adds more
position.
pressure, and yep, I guess the one who has lesser material will be more determined to gain an advantage since he doesn't have a queen. For Elijah's position, we can see that he's trying to do his best. Yes, he's down a queen, he only has two bishops, but we can see that he's trying to activate more of his pieces. Maybe if we cannot win by material, maybe we can make this position very hard for black, that he will be king's lane later on. Maybe that's the kind of thinking that Elijah has in his mind right now, but he's a legend, so
Yes.
we don't know yet.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to make it as difficult for your opponent as possible. I agree with that. And yeah, he shifted the knight to e3. It was on the d2 square, and then used a shift spell to put that on e3. And I think that knight wants to go to f5, right? Trying to sort of trap the king, maybe?
Yes, that
And yes, it does.
going to f5 square, and you're right about that. So this adds more pressure, more controlling more of the squares, probably limiting the moves for black. And although you have the queen as a black here, but yep, maybe it doesn't really help at all since it's a closed game over here on the queen side. The king on d1 is just sitting pretty there, so it's good that there's still a castle queen side. However, again, it is still difficult having more less than 1 minute in the time control.
Yeah. Having less than a minute, it starts to get really, really scary. And that bishop e2 move by Elijah was a bit tricky because with the king on c8, he was threatening a transcendence spell to capture the king, and now the king is forced to move out of the way, and now the bishop starts coming in, attacking the queen, but house recruit was used there, so now that queen is safe for now, at least.
Yeah, you're right. I guess yes, there's like threats left and right, and that bishop to e2 is actually a tricky one since it's gonna transcend if black isn't really paying attention too much in this game. But it's good that king moved from b8 to a8. I guess that eliminates some of the pressure, and that rook to h7 actually is threatening something. Since there's still transcendence for both of them, like two uses of transcendence. So again, doesn't mean you have a material advantage. You can easily win here in Anichess.
Yeah, and that transcendence goes from left to right, right to left, so that rook is threatening the queen on c7. You could transcend the rook and take it if the queen was not able to defend itself, but now the queen steps onto the wrong square because the bishop transcends and takes on b8. That's why transcendence is just so powerful.
Yeah, you're right about that. See, that bishop is just waiting, and right now, white has a material
Sneak and
advantage. He has
slide.
one more bishop
A diagonal
in his
strike.
pieces right now, and both of them having the same spells, transcendence, two uses of transcendence for call. But will that help in this situation, in this position? We still don't know yet. But both of them has less than 20 seconds in their time.
Yep, time is getting really, really low, and Elijah is just going and picking up all the pieces. And now that the bishops are off the board for black, you don't have to worry about too much with transcendence spells right now. So white can kind of go in and grab some pawns and give some checks and see if you can try and take the king.
Yeah, actually, the good thing about these checks, it adds more time to both of them because we have like an increment, a few seconds increment for this. And it's good that they're having these checks just to buy some time and think of how they can actually, utilize, especially for Elijah that has one material advantage. And that house recruit on the 6th rank is actually adding more pressure, but we cannot get call, still has these spells. Same spells as what Elijah has in his spell list.
Yeah, and that pawn is just unstoppable because if the king goes to c7 to try and defend the d8 square, then that rook on f7 can transcend and take the king. So this is just really unfortunate for black here. Yeah, we might see a transcendence right now, but instead we see shift, and here we go. This is going to be checkmate and GG's.
Yeah, transcended over to the other side of the board. Yeah.
Okay, we can last
one
up
use.
for removal so more. Okay, now this is checkmate, right? No, we're going around again.
No, not yet. Not yet. It's not over for Cole.
Okay, there goes the knight. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Cole is
again,
wanting to make this last as
one
long as
queen.
possible.
Yeah, but it's one queen. I don't think he'll survive in this one, although there's some.
And Cole is out of transcendent
queen.
spells now. Yeah.
Yes. Has some slip. I don't think he can slip out of this, but yes, it's a
Yeah. All right, what a game. I mean, Cole played so well, winning Elijah's queen in the middle game. And then, but yeah, as I was saying, maybe those two bishops were actually just better because what happened with the transcendent spell was that the two bishops kind of dominated the king and queen. And wherever you move, you were losing something to transcendent. So I don't know if this was a tactical sacrifice or if Elijah just decided to make the best of a bad situation. What do you think? Do you think this was like an actual queen blunder, or do you think it was a sacrifice?
Well, personally, I think it's a blunder, but due to the elo difference, and at the same time, probably there's a pressure since it's like a championship match here right now. So maybe that adds up to the pressure where Call cannot really think that clear in how he can convert this material advantage into a victory, which is why we've seen him do these passive moves, or maybe Elijah is that really of a strong player because again he's a legend. He has more than 2,000 plus rating here in Anichess, and anything he does here in Anichess, like giving a queen, he can still win. Maybe that's how legend works here in Anichess.
Yeah, no, it does happen that way sometimes. It's like in normal chess as well. When you think you're doing really well against a stronger player, you're up a piece, and then suddenly they're checkmating you, and you're like, how did this happen? I was up a piece. So maybe Cole is feeling the same way as well. Like, how am I suddenly losing when I was up a queen? But I feel like that was a very exciting game, and it was a close one. It wasn't like Cole just got crushed. It was like both sides had chances, so you never really know who's going to be the winner going into this final. But Elijah is the first player to make it to the finals, and we've still got a matchup between Podcast and Frasa to see who Elijah will be up against. So yeah, this is another exciting match coming up right now.
Yep, and we've seen how Frasa played a while ago, and Podcast, I'm thinking he's really preparing something for this match. We've seen him played yesterday, and he was really good in using his spells. But what do you think? Who will be your choice for this match between Frasa and Podcast?
Ooh, that's a good question. I might go for Frasa this time. I did like how Frasa played in the game that we just watched a few games ago. I thought that was a really nice, fun game to watch. And yeah, I mean, Podcast did get the win in the end in the game we watched yesterday, but did struggle a little bit actually, was down a few pieces. So maybe Frasa's going to come on top today.
Yeah, you're right about that. Maybe this completely different style of playing in Anichess. Let's see who will be prevailing at the end, since this is going to be a championship match. So we're just waiting for them to get ready. But stay tuned, guys, because later on we will be joined by none other than Grandmaster Anish Giri, all the way to getting into the champion, as we are about to commentate all these intense games for tonight's Spells Rush.
Yep, that's going to be for the finals, and that's going to be a best-of-3 match. So we're going to see the players, play potentially 3 full games. So that's going to be really exciting as well to watch that. I mean, sometimes things just don't go your way in Anichess. So I think it's nice that we have a best-of-3 for the finals, just so that we can make sure that one side didn't get unlucky.
Yeah, you're right about that, and I'm so excited to see if they were not if they're not going to be able to use the first set of spells. How will they be able to win the succeeding matches? It's like in this first match, I'll be using Transcendence, and then the next match I cannot use it anymore because I have to use other spells for that match. So, yep, that will add more variety and another chance for the losing player as well.
Yes, that would be fun. I do.
All right, we're having some issues with the audio, but yep, tonight's game will be about Frasa against Portgas. So, who do you think would win this match, guys? Let us know in the comments down there.
Hello, everybody. I am
Okay.
back. Sorry about the missing mic. I had a
It's
lot to
okay. It's
say, but
okay.
you guys didn't get to hear that all. Don't worry. Okay. Now, this might be,
Always
I,
happen.
I mean, I talk about this. This might be my favorite board and piece set. Like, as soon as I saw this, after the games last night, I went in and I put this board on for myself because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. I love this one. It's my favorite board by far. But anyway, we're seeing the same spells that we've seen in the other games, except Fraser's got the Queen Time spell. And Queen Time was the spell that basically won Fraser the game last time. So this one, not many people are using it, but it's a really useful one.
Yeah, actually, this is going to be a great match, I believe, because that Queen Time, paired with the Transcendence, it's going to be surprising. Because a while ago, as we watched Frasa use this Queen Time spell, they are like in the panic mode because they're having like less than 1 minute, I guess. That's why Queen Time wasn't really noticed when she used that spell. But in this game, let's see how Portgas will perform against Frasa, since I believe Portgas's playstyle is more of a tactical, and at the same time he tends to conserve more of his time because that's how he plays in normal chess, and he still plays the same with Anichess.
Yes, for sure. And I've noticed that these players are using a little bit of a different opening to what we've seen with the other games. So, different style maybe here. And Fraser's really going for that f7 pawn, going for some tricks on that one.
Yeah, actually, that pawn on the f7 is actually one of the threat. If your pawn structure on the queen side would be on the c3 and b4, giving away for your queen on d1 all the way to the f7. But this one, maybe he has a different plan at the moment. So let's see what Portgas has in mind with this knight g5 move.
Yes, but now the knight is just kicked back. It goes back to h3. And Podcast has used a spell already early in the game with House Recruit, creating a pawn on e4. And now he has 3 pawns in the middle of the board and a lot of space right now.
That's right. We can see the black is trying to control the center, and you're right about that. They have completely different styles, different openings from the ones we reviewed, the ones we've commentated a while ago, and this makes it more interesting to watch because how can this? I'm thinking this is more related to the traditional openings in normal chess, right? Not into Anichess, because we've seen like h4, g3, and then slipping that pawn from e to f. Most of the openings that we commentated a while ago are like that, but this one, it's different. So let's see how will this game go.
Yeah, this one definitely seems a little bit closer to regular chess that we're seeing. And now we've seen a pawn slip from Portgas, putting that pawn on g5. And yeah, again, I feel like this idea is coming up a lot, just putting pressure on the rook on the h file. And now we're having some trades, but Podcast has so many pawns in the center and a lot of space.
Oh, by the way, just an update. We have Grandmaster Anish Giri in the stream right now, so it's good that we have him, and I hope we can get more of this commentary. Guys, type in GM Anish Giri in the live chat right now because he's just joined. Come on.
Okay, well, we might have to wait to hear for the commentary from Anish, but he will be joining us very, very soon to join us and commentate on this final match for Anichess Spells Rush. That bishop coming into g4 is attacking that queen, and now the queen has to move away to the c1 square. I'm really, really liking Fraser's position right now, actually. Because Podcast is having to sort of defend all his pieces, keeping them on the back rank. Sometimes this is a good idea, but it seems like Fraser is calling all the shots right now.
Yeah, you're right about this. Maybe Fraser has a better position, and at the same time, with the transcendence threats on f6 and putting that queen on c1, adding more pressure to that f6 pawn, maybe that's the long-term plan for Podcast. But yep, there is a
and
house
what a
recruit
move
on
the pawn to c3.
Damn.
Because now
Yeah,
if you take, so
because-
if white takes with the bishop, then you can use a transcendent spell. Fraser can use a transcendent spell to transcend that bishop from g7, h6, and then it comes out on the a5 square all the way down to capture on c3. So you would be winning a bishop in that position. And you have to take it though, because
And
if you're
he takes
moving the
it.
knight away, then your king could be vulnerable. And yeah, now Podcast just only has one bishop and has lost a lot of activity right here.
Yes, you're right. Although he has like eight out of 8 mana, but that's not enough, I guess, for him to convert that material disadvantage into a fair fight. So we are seeing right now that bishops for black are active in this position, and yeah, I don't think transcendence are enough for this position for white, for Podcast to be used. And I don't know what's the long-term plan for now, but this is getting really difficult for Podcast.
Yeah, I think that Podcast might be in quite a lot of trouble here. How would you work on trying to get out of this position? Like, I guess you have to try and get your bishop out from f1 and maybe just try and castle the king, but that h2 pawn is gone, so that leaves another opening towards the king. So yeah, this is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're right about that. This is really uncomfortable for white, for Podcast. So maybe utilizing the other spells like House Recruit could help, but I don't know what's the long-term plan. I guess short-term plan, remove those active pieces like this bishop on c3. I think that would be the short-term plan for now.
Yeah, you could also try a transcendent spell if you wanted to capture that bishop on g4, maybe transcend that rook, just because that g4 bishop, it's controlling all the squares around the king. So yeah, that king just has no movement at all. Maybe you want to sacrifice an exchange at some point, especially when Fraser
Yes,
has
and
not enough mana for any spells.
you're correct about that. But let's not forget, Frasa has a queen time. So anytime soon, if queen time is usable, definitely that it can be used to gain more material advantage in this position, since most of the pieces are actually controlling white's pieces and white squares here in this game.
Yes, and Queen Time is a super valuable spell, and we also have a super valuable host who is joining us right now. We have Anish Giri in the call with us to commentate this final.
Yeah, hopefully we get to hear Anish. Let's hear it from Anish. Is he here right now? I guess it's here, but yes, the tens is still here as well. Looking at that rook a5.
Oh,
What's the
but
plan here?
wait, is this not just a free rook?
I don't think it's a free rook if there's a plan, or
I think it might be a free rook, because even if you take something again there, doesn't Frasa have the queen time spell usable quite soon? But there's no transcendent spell that would win that queen back. So it looks like okay, now this pawn to h4, it's threatening to capture the queen on a5. So Frasa just needs to move that one
You're
out
right.
of the way.
Yes, you're actually correct with that. Maybe the reason why Portes is doing this is, he wants to conserve more time, maybe add some pressure to the time control of the opponent. But what time can do if your opponent, if your position in the game is already losing something like this. But the threats are still are still there. There's still more possibilities that this can be turned around.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would take my chances on it right now. With that king on d2, I think this looks really, really scary for Portes. And now another pawn is being added into the game, and that slips. Oh no, Frasa does not have a slip spell, so can't be slipping that to g7, thankfully. But in comes the queen.
Yeah, and Frasa has less than 15 seconds on the time, and this is going to be very difficult now. And knight takes to c2, I guess. Queen takes to knight, and so that he can transcend back and take that queen as well, because I think that's the obvious response to this. But that check on a1, damn.
Yeah, what can you do?
I don't think there's
any slip spell that works.
No,
now
I don't think that will work here. It's a checkmate, I guess.
Yeah, wow.
All right.
I mean, that was what a game by Frasa. I have to say, I did have a sense that Frasa was going to win this game. I just really liked this use of queen time. I feel like nobody's using queen time, but queen time is such a fun spell. Actually, she didn't even use it this game, but I feel like it's just such a nice spell to have up your sleeve, so your opponent's always having to worry about it. Almost the psychological factor. But yeah, this was a really exciting game.
It was.
Yeah.
It was really a nice game, and
okay, so
we're hearing something.
Oh, sorry guys, you're live, right? Yes. Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry for my my horrible entry.
No, it's okay.
We introduced you only a couple times.
I've been introduced
here,
yeah?
Grandmaster Anish.
Thank you guys. Happy to join. So how are we doing?
Well, it's been a very exciting match so far. We just finished up with the semifinals, so we're going to see a final between Frasa and Elijah, two high-rated players. It's been really fun so far. What do you think, John?
Yeah, actually, they have used a lot of spells. Actually, I'm not sure if you have heard about the new spell, which is Transcendence. And currently, they're utilizing this spell, and most of them are winning because of this new spell. So it's exciting. How can they, compete against each other on the next succeeding matches, knowing that they cannot use Transcendence on the second match ongoing through the other matches as well. And we're very excited to have you here as well, because we want to know what are your thoughts for these upcoming games.
No, it sounds very exciting. I mean, a game is already hard enough as is, and if you start adding new spells or removing the spells, it starts to become even so much harder, right? Because if you get used to some spell, you start to understand when to use it, when not to use it. And after a lot of practice and many games, finally you have it under control a little bit. And then they bring something new, and you are like beginner all over again. Must be so difficult, and you must be so good and adaptive to be good at this game with it changing all the time.
Yeah, and this spell
Totally
I
agree with
think is
that,
the
right,
most
Hannah?
complicated one. Yeah, this one is a very complicated spell. You get to like move the pieces all the way around the other side of the board. I don't know if Anish has used this spell or seen it before, but it's like the piece can go from one side of the board and pop up on the other side. So you always have to think about that the whole game, and it's
Oh
really
yeah, it's like
crazy.
I see what you mean. It's like the diagonal sort of connects from the back and stuff like that, and like
Yeah, it's
Yes,
like
yeah.
a cylinder
that's right.
board, like you go all the way
Mm,
around. Yeah.
The
wow,
left to right
wow. You know,
edges.
this is only this way, yeah, not the other way. Wild, wild.
Yeah, only that.
Okay, okay. Wow. No, it must be really, really hard to. Also, I remember when I was playing myself, and we had Sagar commentating from ChessBase India. Like he also, you know, like, it's so hard to like, keep up. Like the players themselves can't keep up with the challenge sometimes, and for the commentator as well. You're like constantly looking so many options, and yeah, so it's really, really difficult stuff. And it's a new game, you know, a new game for the players, and yeah, it's a new kind of challenge.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
challenging. And speaking about challenge, maybe we can head on to the lower bracket finals because we're really excited to hear how Anish Giri thinks about these new spells and how this player works in Anichess.
Oh, you already started, yeah? So the matches are coming pretty quickly. Yeah, we've got the Caro-Kann, and White's also doing the c3 move. I don't know, is it smart or is it... Okay. This is not how you play chess conventionally. The black is expanding on the queen side. Normally you play in the center, but I don't know, maybe this is clever. Maybe this is some money chess kind of... this h5 move, yeah, it's not conventional stuff at all.
Yeah, actually, Anish, this pawn structure here is actually preparing for the Transcendence use case because most of them are actually trying to eye for that f7 pawn, and sometimes if you forgot that your opponent has this Transcendence spell and you have that pair of bishops looking onto that edge of the board, well, you can get that Kingsley victory in no time if they're not careful enough.
Ah, so you're saying that they know what they're doing, yeah? It's not some nonsense that they're doing. Interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right now the queen's threatening, actually with the
A
Transcendence
diagonal
spell, the
dash,
queen's threatening to go
quick
to
as a
H,
flash.
all the way down to F2. So like the queen can go down to A5 and then wrap around on the other side and go to F2. So yeah,
Oh
it's like some
That's why
tricky
G3 was
openings.
played.
Yeah.
That's why G3 was played, huh? To defend.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
So these
Welcome aboard.
these players being in final are like super good, yeah?
Yeah, we can call them that. We can call them that.
Quiet
And do
as
we
a
know who
whisper.
these players are?
Slip
Where
and
they're from?
glister.
Or for now it's a mystery.
Oh yes, both of them are from the Philippines. So Portgas and Cole both are actually living from the Philippines. They used to compete nationally from the traditional chess, and right now they're here in Anichess. They both have different play styles, and right now they're competing against each other with the same spells.
Yeah, Philippines is taking the lead, yeah, on this variant, on the Anichess game.
I guess so, because probably most of the players are from the Philippines and they have plenty of time and they really love to play chess. I myself am a Filipino, so yes, I love to play chess, and that's why I love Anichess. And right now I'm here commentating with you. And how is it so far? Do you like Anichess too?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it was already hard, but now with the cylinder thing in the action, we just saw the trade of the rooks happening from a8 to h8. So this Transcendence, you can use it 4 times, right? If I see it correctly, like five even. And, it keeps
3
transcending. The
times.
rooks are 3. 4 is the mana. 4 is the mana count. Yeah, that you. Yeah. 4 is the mana count that you need. No, I'm still.
Yes.
I'm still getting used to the complexity there. Black's taken a rook with the whole transcending business, but White actually is on the attack there on the king side. No idea what's happening, but I really like how quickly the players are playing and how fast they see what they're doing.
No, they really know
Yeah,
what they're
actually,
doing, and yeah. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, actually, I was trying to say that the sacrifices here were made because if this black, is not paying too much attention, the transcendence from the queen d1, as Hannah says a while ago, that queen from d1 can transcend all the way to a4 to h5 into e8. So if black isn't really careful enough, that king can be slain.
Yeah, so king f8 was a must. Otherwise, king f7 would lose to queen takes f7. Yeah, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. And can I play a move like queen? So I could move the queen to g6 or h5. Yeah, from d1.
Well, not right now, because if there is a pawn blocking in the way, then you can't like jump over any of the pieces.
Yeah.
It has to be like a clear diagonal. So after h5 is played, then you can't transcend anymore right now.
Yeah. White's
but what
given
you can
up
do
the
right
knight on
now,
d1.
Actually, what you can do with your queen, since it can move diagonally and horizontally, vertically, since we have the transcendence, it can capture back that rook on b1. But since in this position, there are bishop, I guess it cannot be used for the meantime. So that's why it keeps on the d1 square yet at this moment.
The rook keeps how many pieces the rook alone took, and it's a hero of the game. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, the rook is just taking everything. The transcendent spell is so annoying because because you have 3 casts with it, you can just go through and take everything, and now it's attacking the king, so you have to do something about that. And the queen's lost too.
Couldn't you at least go bishop? Oh, he's trying to do. Oh, bishop on b5 is going to where? Is it going to?
Yes. A6.
Did it protect the queen?
H7.
H6, H7, right? So is it like
H7.
winning? White's gonna win the game.
White is winning.
It's sort of like White's winning.
Yes.
Is the king slay on the next move, no? Oh, you
King
see,
slay
while
in
you're
the
busy
next
collecting
move.
stuff with your
You're right.
Yeah, this a4 was a brilliant idea. Yeah, he was giving all the pawns, but just to get that bishop on b5 to set up this. Oh wow, what a game! Insane stuff. What a masterpiece, Jesus.
Yeah, that's the transcendence.
Yeah, no, these players
craze.
are so good with this. Yeah,
And
as
they're
I was
getting
saying,
creative,
these players are
because
so
of the
good
transcendence
with
spell.
transcendence. Yeah.
But the
and
transcendence
John-
dominates the game, yeah, kind of. It sort of that spell dominates the game pretty much, as we had seen now, because it's such a powerful tool that it sort of starts to look like a cylinder chess instead of because of the other spells. They're in terms of their usability, they're quite bleak in comparison. So everything revolves around the spells, and yeah, it's a very difficult three-dimensional game that you have to wrap your head around.
Yes, for sure. I mean, a lot of the players are just playing the entire game based on preventing attacks from transcendence and also trying to create the attack. So right now it's sort of changed pretty much how players are playing the entire game with Anichess. So I wonder if that's going to be like nerfed at some point, because at the moment it can take the king, and none of the other spells you can take the king with, right? Except for bishop. So do you think that's going to be something that changes?
Well, if you ask me, I have no idea where where the developers are trying to take this game. I imagine that what would be fun is to keep switching things around, and so the best player will be the one who is the most adaptive to the changing circumstances and changing rules of the game, and then you're sort of in the moment talent is more valuable than experience, because you can't build up experience. You build up experience for a couple of days, and then in the next stage there will be another spell, and you got to start from scratch again. So no, it's fascinating stuff, and it's very impressive indeed how the players were playing. Wow, the black seemed like then they're all about transcending, they're collecting everything with the rook, but white was very, very sneaky there, and with just the pieces remaining was able to checkmate. It's very, very impressive. And in fact, what the transcendence sort of gives, and it also takes it away, it's essentially it distracted black from thinking about its own king. We were focusing so much on the he took the rook, the knight, the queen, and after he took the queen, he thought, this is it. But then came the final blow, and it's amazing.
Yeah, you're actually right about that. It seems like the previous meta was House Recruit, Parker Mech, and Queen Time. But with this addition of Transcendence, it really changed the game here in Anichess. So most of them, actually, if you look at the leaderboards right now, most of them are using Transcendence. Players like Frasa, they keeps on using the Queen Time, but it has Transcendence on the skill list. So definitely, I guess this changes the current meta here in Anichess, and they get really creative with that.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen any match so far that people haven't been using Transcendence. Everybody has used it pretty much. I don't think there's even been one game that people haven't used it. It's just really, really strong right now. And for the finals, is there a rule where you can't use the same spell twice if it's a best of three?
Well, last tournaments, there was this rule that you cannot use the same spells you have used from the previous match. So if it's going to be the same rules, definitely it's gonna be difficult and a little bit challenging for both players. And I think that will really, produce who's the best player in Anichess.
Yeah, for me, so coming from chess, really, like, and no other gaming background whatsoever, this is a very unusual format, because like one thing we have in chess is that it's a game that's been exactly the same for over a century already. Even I believe 2 centuries. At some point they changed some rules, but then that stopped doing that, and it's been it's been hundreds of years. And for me, the notion of changing the game is like so alien, and in Anichess it is so extremely dynamic that within the same round maybe you can change and use different spells, and then the whole thing turns upside down. So that's, for me, it's really, really difficult to wrap my head around that concept. And yeah, it's a different kind of fascinating experience.
No, it is really fascinating. I mean, I'm getting confused watching all of these different opening strategies, but it seems like the players are learning as they go as well. Like, we're seeing changes in how they're preferring to play the openings, and that's what you do with Anichess, I guess. You adapt and you learn. But I think that now we're going to go into a break, and then we're going to see the big final match afterwards. So we'll see you guys soon.
So.
step beyond tradition. With a drop of magic. Clash in epic battles, where magic reshapes strategy. Unleash spells to transform the game. Attack! Defend! Trick! Master them all. Ready to duel in the realm of magic?
And we're back here in Spells Rush, brought to you again by Anichess, ChessBase India, and Team Secret. And we still have our Super Grandmaster, Anish Giri, with us commentating for this best-of-3 grand finals. Are you excited, Hannah? Oh, there's an audio problem, I guess. But what about you, Anish? What do you
Well,
think?
she looks
would be,
excited though. She looks very excited, but I also don't hear her. But just from the visuals, she's definitely excited for the.
Yeah, judging from the visuals.
Okay, I'm here now, guys. Okay,
It's okay,
well,
it's okay.
as I was going to say, I'm pretty excited about this match. We went from, everyone in the top 64 down to now we just have the final 2. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really close one because we saw a lot of close games happening, a lot of transcendent spell that we still, haven't fully worked our heads around. And we might see some more different spells as well. What's your favorite combo of spells, Anish?
I'm not big on this. I haven't played so much. When I played it, I think the bishop thing was like something I really liked very much, for sure. Queen time as well, where you could turn a piece and move it like a queen once, because then you could capture, like with a knight in an unexpected way. That was like a common thing. People would not suspect the knight to be able. And I didn't use it myself much, but I found it very annoying when people would start dropping pawns on my board, one after the other. So so that was also one that I found quite difficult. And also there's this swapping as well, which was quite cool, where you would swap your piece with the opponents. So those were the ones I was mostly using. Also because I use the same set and get used to it instead of experimenting too much with all kinds of different ones. Now that there's a transcendence thing, I would have to go with that for sure.
Yeah, so basically, those are House Recruit, Queen Time, and the Bishop 2.0. But we're here again for the grand finals for Spells Rush, and we're going to watch Elijah against Frasa, and both of them having different spells. So let's just discuss first what spells does Elijah have. So he has Slip, Parker Mech, and House Recruit, while Frasa has Shot in the Dark, Bishop 2.0, and Imposter. So there's no transcendence in the spell list right now. What do you think about this, Hannah?
Finally, some spells that I understand. I mean, the Parkour Mech and the House Recruit are some of my favorites. Like, you can just put a pawn anywhere and then also turn one of those pawns into a knight. It's really useful just to get some extra material. And the Slip spell, it's really also easy to use. You're just moving a piece diagonally. You can like open up the position that way, get your pieces active earlier. And yeah, I also love the Imposter spell for some tricks. That one's also really fun.
That is nice.
So can you guys explain me just why would somebody so early on in the game use one of the spells already on move 2?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. From E to F, I guess.
Yeah, so this Slip spell, you can use it. It's only 1 mana, and then it also steals a mana from your opponent. So you can kind of just use it to take away the ability of your opponent to cast a spell.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And
just
at the
use
same
it at the
time,
beginning, because why not? Yeah.
Why not use it if you can cast and use that spell? And probably this has been the current meta, the current use case for this sleep spell if you're having the transcendent spell. But also, I don't. Let's see what Elijah has in his mind with this slip from E to F. Maybe he has a different plans.
Yeah. Also this move h4. Do you immediately see why you would do h4? What exactly is what exactly does it prepare or anticipate?
Yeah, so this might be to try and use a slip spell in the future. Maybe you want to slip the pawn from h4 to g5 and attack the knight. So sometimes this can be useful.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, or maybe he can push it all over to h6, and if black just tend to ignore it, he can slip through g7, and since Elijah has house recruit, he can use it to his advantage and put more pawns on that 6th rank just to support that 7th rank pawn.
Yeah. The combination of the sleep and the house recruits suddenly makes it look like Elijah is sort of is already the favorite in this game, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, Elijah is the higher rated player, and we were saying Elijah, I think, is the highest Anichess, like the highest rated Anichess player on the leaderboard at all. So yeah, so he's like a really, really good player and probably great chances to win overall.
You can tell he's a great player because the way he plays at the opening, I would have never made any of those moves because I'm like I'm a noob at this game. I'm just a chess player, so I can sort of feel just from the weirdness of his moves. I can feel that they must be strong just because they're so weird. Like you don't make those. Like you can't just make these moves up if you don't know what you're doing. So he must be doing something really, really clever. I can tell.
Yeah, actually, and knowing that he's from Russia, probably he's a Grandmaster. We don't know yet. We don't have any information aside from the fact that he's from Russia. And so far, the games that we have commentated from his side, he doesn't have any blunders aside from the fact that he've given one queen right a while ago. So yep, a player transcended and his queen was captured, but he managed to win that game. And right now we can see him play here in the finals.
Into the night.
Yeah, that was a really cool game to watch. I mean, maybe one of my favorites where he went down a queen but then used transcendence with the 2 bishops just attacking the king and queen. But now we've seen Shot in the Dark, which is where you get to turn a piece invisible for a turn, and you can either move it or you can keep it exactly where it is. So this is one you can use to trick your opponents and maybe move somewhere questionable or just keep your piece where it is if you want to use, I don't know, reverse psychology on them.
But so if you have moved the knight, let's say to d4, white, what did he do? Did he drop the knight on c2?
Yeah, slip from b1 to c2.
Oh yeah, I see, and yeah, I don't know like why, but why? I guess why not?
Yeah, actually,
I know. To protect
maybe...
from some kind of dropping. Yeah, maybe some to protect the c2 square. Maybe in some. I'm not sure.
Yes, exactly. If he decides to move that queen and not guard that c2, probably it could have ended being fourth. But it's good that he has this slip spell to kind of counter that shot in the dark move. And right now, again, they both doesn't have the transcendence, so this can get little interesting compared to the other matches.
I think now the best move in chess would lose the game immediately. Like probably the best move if it was a normal chess game would be to play knight to e4 to go towards the weak d6 square. But I guess you could then lose to the bishop capturing your king on e1. So you gotta really be attentive there.
You're right.
Yeah, I feel
there's
like
a bishop.
Yeah, you can't really just use normal chess principles when you're playing Anichess, which is like, I was talking about the other night, I'm like, maybe being good at chess can even make you worse at Anichess sometimes, like, because then you're just trying to think
at first,
too much about what is the best move.
Yeah, I think at first it's not helping, but I guess the whole notion of becoming better at chess, like the way you adapt, like eventually the skills, like essential skills you have will help you to learn to become a better Anichess player. But at first, that you're good at chess will confuse you a little bit for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you're that good in chess and you play Anichess, it's like you have to relearn everything, because not everything in opening principles, the theories you have in traditional chess can work here in Anichess. Sometimes those theories, those principles can lead you to a loss, because sometimes the safety of the king isn't really safe at all because of the addition of transcendence. So you have to keep in mind that every squares from left to right, you have to be very careful where you place your king.
Yeah, but also
Yeah, exactly.
I spoke about it. Yeah, no, for sure. But I spoke about when I was playing myself the Blitz
A
games with this time
diagonal
control.
dash.
It is
Quick
so
as a
extremely
flash.
difficult with so little time to calculate all these complex lines, because you have to calculate so many possibilities. You also have to keep the count of mana in mind, and it's just wild stuff. Really, really difficult.
Yeah, there is a lot of things you need to keep track of, and the fact that they keep changing the game as well means that you have to keep adapting to new spells, and also just trying to think about every single move. What can my opponent do? What spells can they use? How much mana do I have? So yeah, I mean, these guys obviously have put a lot of time into becoming very, very good at this game, and you can really see it in how they're playing.
Yeah, and white player Eladio is managing his time much better, because I think having 2 minutes advantage over 1 minute is quite tremendous, and it's likely will tell very quickly, because yeah, the time situation, when you are in time trouble in regular chess, you can sort of get away because of all this common patterns that here, when any move could be a blunder, it's going to be really, really difficult. Okay, now it's a very dangerous moment, because he just shot in the dark, so he might have attacked the queen on c2, and white should probably move that queen, I guess.
Yeah, because he could have gone like knight to e3 or knight b4, or maybe
f4,
even just
or
kept the
f4.
knight where it is.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have kept.
Well, I don't think
I'm
he
not
can
sure.
capture.
Makes sense. And if I try capturing a knight? You cannot try capturing it, right? Like you can't, because you don't see it. Yeah, no, moving
You
the
could
queen
play
was the only
bishop to
thing.
e3.
You can. Yeah, you can play bishop to e3, and that will capture that invisible piece.
But you can't try c6 before, right? If you can't really try a move like that, right?
You can. You can put your bishop on e3, and if that knight ends up
c3,
on e3, then it will be lost.
Yeah. But the pawn you can't move diagonally, obviously, right? So then there was only.
Oh,
Black is
the slip spell. You want to move like.
I could have tried moving. Yeah, I see. Could do the slip spell with pawn on c3 to b4 and hope to capture knight, which could be on b4. But that would be a crazy gamble, yeah.
Yeah, it could be a crazy gamble, because it ended up placing in another square.
Yeah, I think moving the queen was moving the queen, though. Yeah, I guess was a safer move. But now it cost white a lot of material, and black's won a bunch of things. Black's suddenly doing visually not so badly, here.
Into the night.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and
black
shot in
is-
the dark is always a threat here.
Shot in the dark is driving him nuts. He's got to move the queen again now, because guy could have played bishop f3. He could have also played somewhere else. So you have to move the queen g2 or something. Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah, and if you want to gamble and think that the bishop's on f3 and you play queen f3, there's a chance they put the bishop
exactly.
somewhere else
Exactly.
and then you lose your queen. Oh,
yeah,
it's a horrible spell. I hate
exactly.
this one.
Yeah, no, it was nasty. He also did the this
Sneak and
swapping
slide.
thing, with the
A
imposter, right?
diagonal
And he won the queen. But now white's about to promote the pawn. Beautiful stuff. This is d2 c7. Black lost rook from the back rank, and now it cannot stop the promotion unless you can use some kind of spell. But I don't know which spell you can use at this point. You can't use anything.
Yeah, actually,
Doesn't have the
I
mana.
guess it doesn't have anything to use for black, and having that panic time, less than 15 seconds, that adds up
white's
to
winning,
tense and the pressure.
Yeah, white looks completely winning right now.
White is winning here with those spells, and I don't know if imposter can be used, but yeah, time wise, Frasa is less than 15 seconds. So more pressure, more prone to making a mistake, more blunders.
Just some house recruits right now would probably be good, no? Like drop some pawn to d5.
Soldier steps
or
into
even
the
even
fray.
maybe
Ooh,
d6.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes,
then
actually.
just hang on. Okay. He just wants to collect the b6 pawn or not. Wow, wait, he's going forward. This is very desperate. You can try to stop the king by like moving the pawn to d3. Yeah. You don't have sleep. You don't have sleep anymore as white. You've used your slips. Yeah.
No slips.
Yes, but you do have house recruit,
sleeps
so
anymore.
you could place a pawn on d3.
Okay, probably good idea. Why not? Oh, nice.
And the parkour mech.
Nice.
Let's
Oh,
not
that's
forget
nice.
that.
That's GG. That's GG. Beautiful stuff. But now you capture the king. Wow.
GG's.
Yeah.
Yeah, no time left too. And Elijah wins that match. First match. Again, it's a
Yeah,
best
so
of
it
three.
is a
the
best
format?
of
How many-
3, yeah.
Best of three. Best of three. Wow. So this was just the first game, right? Or I'm getting confused because we have seen 2 games already, but this was the first one of this match.
Yeah, first one of this best of 3 match. So that's
we've got two
Elijah
more games
against
potentially.
Frasa.
Yeah, before
Yes.
we
And do
saw
you
the
think there's big-
consolation finals, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
for sure,
What
yeah.
were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I was wondering, like, you guys noticed the white having any significant advantage over black or not really? Like in terms of
Hannah
starting
first,
having
go.
the yeah.
I honestly, at least for me, I don't really notice too much of a difference, especially because black they start with 1 mana as well. So it means you can like cast your spell. You don't get any sort of disadvantage with how fast you can cast the spells. So I think it's actually pretty equal.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention. I never realized the black starts with an extra mana, but it makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, what would have an extra advantage? Not only starting the first move, but also having an extra. But now this probably balances it out actually quite a bit. Very nice. Yeah. No, I guess once we have a lot of these high level games, we could start looking at statistics and seeing how is white performing. Is it about 50% or is it more? Is it less? But it feels indeed quite even right now.
Exactly. Here in Anichess, if you're black, you have more than you have like 1 mana advantage, but it doesn't guarantee that you're winning. Doesn't guarantee that you have a big advantage as well in the game. Adding that transcendence spell, and I think there are more spells coming. So, yep, depends on the player, depends on the play style, and how will he or she will be able to utilize these spells.
Yeah,
Yes,
and you
for
can
sure.
sometimes
And-
have like a.
yeah.
Go for it.
Sorry. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just wanted to mention that sometimes you have those local victories, like you win a queen or something, and but then 2 moves later it turns out that you won the battle, but you're going to lose the war. So it's just a really complex game. Even the last one, it was looking like black is taking over. He took some pieces, then he collected the queen, but just at that moment, suddenly the script flipped.
Okay, well, soon I think we're going to go into the next game of the match because it is a best of 3. So unlike the previous matches, which was just 1 game and then you're done, this is best of 3. So Elijah needs to win 1 more game if he wants to be the champion of this tournament, of the Spells Rush. And if we have a draw or a win from Frasa, then the match will continue. Who do you think is going?
And speaking of that,
for the
I
next
guess
one?
we can have like a spell prediction, and I'm predicting that both of them will be using Transcendence in this next match. What about you guys? Do you think they will be using Transcendence, or will they be saving it for the last?
Yeah, go for it, Anna.
Or maybe Hannah.
Yeah, no. So sometimes you might want to save best till last, but I think that Frasa right now is in a must-win situation, or at least must not lose. So maybe right now you'd want to use Transcendence just to try and give yourself the best opportunity not to lose the match in this game. So we might see it, we might not.
Yeah, no, definitely. You're saving your best for last, but this might be your last, so probably you should get this going. So the rule is that you cannot use the spells from the previous game. Yeah, that's the rule.
Yes, that's exactly the rule. You cannot use the same spell. I mean, yeah, all the spells that you have used from the previous rounds, you have to completely use a different spell.
Yeah, and that makes it really difficult to try and, especially if you're usually just using 3 spells that you think are the best. Now you have to try and come up with like 9 different spells that you want to use if you're not so familiar with. Might be more difficult to come accustomed to them.
Yeah, that's the point, right? You can't really be a specialist of just a few spells. You got to really know your entire arsenal of tools and utilize them well. Some of these spells I haven't even tried. Like I like this penguin by the way it looks. The penguin is quite cute, but I'm not sure what it does.
Yeah. Actually, there are more to that. Aside from Pengu Dive, there's Pounds and Purr, and there's this Transcendence, and I believe there's a spell that's coming. But can you tell us, Hannah, about Pounds and Purr? Since I believe you're using this spell most of the time. You're playing Anichess.
Oh yes. Yeah, I like to use Pounce and Purr Queen Time, and then also the House Recruit where you get to place the pawns. Pounce and Purr is one where you get to move a piece to an adjacent square and then freeze an opponent's piece nearby. So you can do it with pawns. Like you can move the pawn to the side, backwards, up, down, wherever you want to go, and then you can freeze a nearby piece. So I like it if maybe my opponent's queen comes too close, and then I can freeze it and win the queen fast.
It's just wild stuff, guys. It's so complicated. So complicated. I feel so
Definitely is.
dumb just playing regular chess. It is so easy for what I'm doing. This is really, really complex.
But the thing is, there's also a counter to Pounds and Purr. Can you share how do you counter Pounds and Purr, since it stuns your opponent's piece, right? How most of your opponents counter that spell?
Oh yeah, because it does freeze the piece, but some spells kind of override the Pounce and Purr, which is the cute one Anish was talking about, the Pengu Dive. So you can use Pengu Dive where you're able to just jump a piece anywhere within like a 5x5 range. Any empty square, you can just move it there. So I could stun a piece, but if my opponent has Pengu Dive, they can just move away. So it makes it only more complicated.
Yeah, no, but it's just also you just want to have the penguin there, no, for some emotional support somehow during your game. You want to feel you've got the penguin on your side.
Exactly. The penguin can be, an emotional support, especially if you're having a hard time or a difficulty, playing the game. Yeah, can be used as emotional support.
Yeah, in a must-win situation, when you're in the final and you gotta come back, perhaps the penguin is the one team member you need to get yourself together and make a comeback.
Exactly. Anyway, yep.
When are they going
we're
to
still
start? Do you
waiting
know
for
when
the
they're going to
next
start?
match.
They're about to
We're
start
currently
any moment.
preparing any moment. But I guess again, my predictions for Elijah, I'm predicting it's gonna be Transcendence, Shot in the Dark, and probably we can see a Parker Mech on his side. What about you, Hannah? What are your predictions
Ooh.
for the spell with Elijah?
I mean, I already forgot which ones he used on the last turn. So I think that last time he had House Recruit and Parkour Mech, did he?
I don't know. House Recruit, he used the Slip, and the other one, I forgot. Let me quickly replay it here so that we. Yeah, he used Slip. Yeah, he used Parker Mech. So maybe Parker Mech.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Let's replace it with a Bishop instead of Parker Mech. Thank you for the
Okay,
correction, by
I
the way.
love to see it. No, that's all good. I was just wondering because I felt like he'd used that one before. I'm hoping he uses Pounce and Purr because, like, I feel like Pounce and Purr has not been getting enough representation here. Like, this is my favorite spell and nobody's using it. So it must be kind of bad. So let's hope for Pounce and Pair, maybe some Imposter. I love the Imposter spell. That one's always really fun. And what about a movement spell? Maybe we've never seen the side to side or up to down, like the Duke or Shift spells. We've only seen Slip. Maybe somebody uses one of those ones.
Yeah, speaking about it, here are the spells that Elijah and Frasa have right now. So for Frasa,
Yes.
he have Parker Mech, House Recruit, and Queen Time, the previous meta and I guess the current meta. For Elijah, he has Shot in the Dark, Pounds and Purr, Hannah's favorite, and
Ooh.
Queen Time.
No penguin there for anybody. Pity. And
No
what do we know
penguin
about
yet.
Frasa as a player? So we know that Elijah is a Russian, strong player from Russia. And what about Frasa? Do we know anything?
Frasa. Hold on. Frasa is from... Let me grab it
Hungary,
here.
right?
Frasa is from Hungary. Hungary, yes.
And they use the female avatar, but we don't know the gender of the player.
Yeah, we're not so sure. That's why sometimes we use him or her.
Yeah, maybe them in that case. To be on the safe side, yeah.
Yeah, well, in this opening, it looks like we're having a relatively normal opening position. All the other games have been kind of crazy with all the flank pawns being pushed and double pawns everywhere, but this looks quite normal for a game, as far as a game of Anichess goes.
Especially how white plays. White plays very conventional. This is how I would play. Just the pawn in the center, the knights out. This is how we teach kids to play chess. And black slightly unconventional because a bit too many pawn moves for my taste, but also not insane.
Yeah, actually, we've commentated a lot of games that has a lot of pawn moves as well, and it ends up winning. So maybe that's the case here in Anichess. It doesn't really mean that if you're moving too much of these pawns, you're violating a lot. Sometimes it can be very helpful. Depends on the situation and the spells you have.
Yeah, no. It's,
Oh,
wow,
and we
wow,
see the
look.
Pounce and Purr. Yep. This is the spell I like, Pounce and Purr. So they've gotten that pawn from d6 to e5, and now that knight is frozen for the turn, and there's no Pengu dive, so that knight is just stuck.
I think the guy was maybe
it's
setting a trap
stunned.
with his opening. Yeah, he was setting a trap with his opening. That was the whole point. Yeah, the d4 was a blunder. Nasty, very nasty. Elijah is a total boss. Yeah, Elijah
actually.
is extremely good.
Oh, by the way, we have a notice here that Elijah is indeed a Grandmaster, which is why he plays really well.
Yeah, it's not surprising. Not surprising. He's not just a Grandmaster. I'm also a Grandmaster, but I can't play this kind of complicated stuff. I mean, he's a Grandmaster who has really put his efforts into mastering this particular game as well.
Yeah, that's why we cannot comprehend some of his moves, some of the plans they have here, because he's a legend.
I just
in
trust him
chess.
at this point. Yeah, he just played Queen 7. I don't know why, but I'm sure it's super strong. I don't know. He's doing something smart here.
Actually, he just put his queen to c7 because there's a queen time available to use, and that bishop on d4 can actually queen time his queen on d8 if he doesn't move that queen on the way.
I knew it. I told you. No, but I knew that was smart. I knew it was smart.
He really is, and you are too.
Well, I mean, I'm not smart, but I can tell when somebody else was smart, and that's already good. That's already something. This is bishop d7. Yeah, this is so strange. There must be some very deep point, but I don't know what it is. Like, once again, it's such a strange move.
Yeah, for us it's strange
Yeah,
too. I'll not be moving bishop
Yeah.
d7 if I was him.
It also appears
I
to
think
weaken
we
the
said,
f7
like,
pawn
yeah.
somewhat. I have a feeling that we are here present at the Lagio show, and it's like when you're watching a magic show and you just sit back and relax and watch, and nothing makes sense until at the end he pulls out a rabbit from his head, and then you're like, yeah, it was there all along.
Totally agree.
Elijah show here. Though he's taking his time. I mean, it's very strange to play bishop d7 and then after that, okay, he's trying to prepare a long castle, I guess, or I don't know.
Yep, probably that's the plan. Probably that's the plan. But he's a legend, so you gotta trust him here.
Yeah, it's, I must say, like from my chess instincts, even though White is down a piece, I kind of like White's compensation there. But yeah, the king on the queen side would normally be a little vulnerable in a normal chess. But I don't know, like if I take
fresh pawn.
Oh yeah, this is nice. Oh, this is very powerful.
Yeah,
It's
I was
very
gonna say, am I
powerful.
crazy for liking White's position here? Because I don't know, Frasa might not be the stronger player, but I like all the space that she has here.
But you know, Elijah, he saw this coming. This is why he did bishop d7, knight d6, and castle, because he saw d6 coming. And he realized that the best way to anticipate this would be to castle queenside, because he was never be in time to castle kingside. It's really incredible how well he's playing, even though I mean, of course, he cannot be ahead of 5 steps ahead, but he's still very much ahead, at least of the commentators.
Yeah, but I guess you have to be careful as black, right? Because on the next move, Frasa will have 7 mana and will be able to cast the queen time spell, so that bishop on d4 could move like a queen and capture the queen on d6. So you definitely have to be wary for that.
No, yeah, busted. Black is completely busted. The thing is, Elijah, he had this dirty trick with the e5 takes the d4 knight, and all his all his mental energy went there. But it's
gonna be c5
There's a
pounce and
tactics.
per, right? Queen takes, and then
yeah.
c5 pounce and per, freeze the queen, and take it on the next turn, I think.
take it.
Or
Okay.
does that not work? Because there
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
a bishop
Or
b7
bishop takes
into
b7.
next
Bishop b7.
Yes.
Bishop takes
turn.
b7.
Yeah.
Queen time.
Can I
And
make
queen time.
queen time with my d7 bishop? Queen time takes d4. No, that's the way to do it, right?
Yeah, queen time the
seven
knight
takes-
to d4.
Queen time the bishop from d7 to d4. Yeah, but that's probably how he's gonna win the queen back. Oh, White can also queen time the
Oh
knight
no,
to d4.
yes.
The next
queen
move.
time the knight to d4. Yes.
Yes,
For a
yes.
spell, the
And Black can
queen's
also queen time
path
once,
you'll
but
tell.
then that, yeah, no, basically White's winning, yeah, pretty much. At least up a queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, up a queen. But this happened a while ago.
But it was a
Yeah,
different
Elijah
kind of no.
is down.
But that time Black had like issues on the back rank, and now White has also a better position. Yeah, everything's protected. I guess White is just completely winning, and Elijah's opening. Besides that opening move with the e5 takes d4, after that everything went wrong for him. He got too greedy.
Okay, but yeah, there's been multiple games where Elijah has been down a queen and has still managed to win. I think there was also an earlier one where he sacrificed a queen for 2 bishops and won that one as well, using the transcendent spells. So yeah, I would like to say that the side with the queen is going to be better, but you just never really know.
Yeah, but at least what I had seen so far is that Elijah, okay, he's very good, but he's not a god. Yeah, he definitely made some mistakes in this game. I mean, you can say it was not a plan to give up the queen there. So he's still he's still human. You can still beat him, and I think Frasa is definitely in with a good chance here.
Actually, right. Yeah, it wasn't really the plan, I guess, with Elijah losing that queen. But yeah, he is also disadvantaged with the time because he has less than 50 seconds. And yep, maybe the goal is to make it difficult for White to win in this position.
For a spell, the queen's path
Queen
you'll
time.
tell.
Okay,
Taking the
queen
rook.
time has been moved.
Okay, yeah, well, but he did cost him a rook though. But now he can safely play without worrying. He'd take on f7 and not worry about anything. Yeah, rook e1, I guess. Why not?
Yeah.
You can can't you
Yeah, I
drop?
think
Can't you drop
Frasa
a pawn on
actually could.
e6?
Yeah. Yeah, you can. That's what I was just
Drop
thinking. You could drop a
Build
pawn,
the
and then you can also
blanks.
turn that into a knight on one of the next moves as well, using parkour mech. So I feel
And
like
then
Frasa might
win
actually
the
win this
king, yeah?
game. Yeah.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
make it a knight and collect this. Okay, but for now he doesn't have the mana for that, so.
Yeah, so you need to wait.
But you
like,
can take the
have
queen
enough
f8.
mana.
You can take you can take queen takes f8 and bishop f8. Then just it counts as a move though, so it will just be a check. You can't take the king right away.
Yeah. So you probably have to just move the queen away for now, and then
Yeah, exactly. You should probably use the shot in the dark at some point with the f6 knight and try to collect the queen.
Yeah.
Maybe play like knight to g4 and like hope the guy will move the queen somewhere on e5 and then yeah,
Exactly.
he just goes knight e8.
That's a great one. Getting
But
really
yeah, I
difficult.
think
that,
I guess
yeah.
Elijah's waiting.
I
Go for
don't
it.
I don't understand why did he give the queen? I don't think that was very smart. I don't think he should have given the queen there.
I agree with you.
But,
He's anyway winning.
Yeah.
He's anyway winning.
Maybe
Of
because
course.
of the partner mech.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
no,
see.
this is
No,
just so winning. Oh. Okay,
well,
there's this, but you can do house recruit.
Fresh
Yeah,
pawn.
in between moves,
Yes,
attack
yes.
the king, and then
Yes,
you take the
yes.
bishop. Yeah.
Take the king. No,
Whoa.
why don't you take the king? Why he remove? Why take the king? He would have
Oh.
been one.
Yeah, I guess he wants to add more pressure instead of just finishing it.
Psychological. Okay, he just pre-moved. Okay, so the guy will take the king, of course.
Shift the
White is
plane.
completely winning. He can also
yeah,
do
yeah.
house. Yeah, okay, house recruit is gone, but basically, shot in the dark with only one
Yeah.
knight cannot get you very far. Yeah.
Okay, you can try some tricks though. You can play like shot in the dark, knight f4 maybe, threaten the knight on e2.
Yeah, but I mean, it's how predictable is that? Yeah, I'll just defend from it. Also, he hasn't used shot in the dark 3 times by now, and he's definitely mismanaged his spells there. So not a good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's not a good.
The way I
thing
see
for
it
Roger.
is just saving his favorite skills or spells because he wants it to use it when he's in white collar. Maybe that's the reason. Because he's not using shot in the dark.
Rook d4 is
Yeah.
going to be checkmate, right? Yeah, and I mean, I'll take the king the next move.
You can use shot in the dark.
Okay, shot in the
use
dark.
shot in the dark
Yeah,
to move
maybe
that
king
king.
Yeah,
c3.
shot in the dark. Yeah, shot in the
Light
dark.
in the dark.
King
Soon to remark.
King d3
King
maybe or
c3,
something,
king
yeah.
b3.
King to b3.
Yeah.
King d3. King d3.
Ah,
Oh!
yep,
he
king
guessed it.
Predicted!
b3.
He guessed it.
Predicted!
Wow, what were the odds? Yeah, there were so many squares and he just guessed it, but okay, it was a safe one.
Rook d3. And Frasa won that match. So it's 1-1, right? 1-1. Elijah won and Frasa won.
So you're thinking he was keeping his best spells for the next white game and now he's going to beat him. That's the plan. There was a plan all along, yeah?
I guess that's the plan because I have this similar game plan before, so maybe I'm thinking he was saving it up for saving the best for the last. I think that's where we're getting at. What about you, Hannah? What do you think? What is the strategy of Elijah in this battle?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about it until you said it, but now it makes so much sense. Neither player has used Transcendence, so I think we can guess almost, I would say 100% we're going to see 2 Transcendence spells used in the next game. And yeah, but it's both the players have already used House Recruit, they've used Parkour Mech, they've used Queen Time, they've used all the other really popular strong spells. So we might see some less popular spells in the next one, maybe Pengu Dive.
Yeah,
I
Pengu
can't
Dive.
even think of what else hasn't been used. Yeah.
Imposter or Bishop 2.0, I guess it can also be used.
Whatever they're gonna have, probably Transcendence is going to dominate the game pretty much, like the losers final we had, constellation final that we had seen. So
Yeah, that might be the strategy, even just like, okay, I'll use Transcendence in this and I don't really care what other spells I have because I'll just rely on Transcendence to win me the game.
yeah.
Exactly. The reason why I think Elijah was saving it for the best, because as you can see, he did not use most of his shot in the dark. He just used it to save his king in a very losing position. So I'm thinking he was not so serious on that game, but he was doing his. Maybe he's not best. He's not at his best because the spells are, shot in the dark. He didn't use it, so that's my wild guess for now.
Yeah, but if he did win
It
that
was- it was
game,
not a very-
that would have been 2 points, and then he would have won the match. So I wonder whether it really was a tactical decision after all.
Yeah, there was this one spell he was using really well. This one that Hannah mentioned, this one where you grab the freeze the piece, yeah, and move diagonally. That spell he was
Zipper.
really sharp on. Yeah. He was really he used it a few times very quickly and very very well. So I guess that's one spell he was very serious about. But it's true, with the shot in the dark, he definitely mismanaged because he didn't use it at all. He definitely should have in hindsight at various moments. I think when Queen was on G7. Yes, somewhere there maybe he could try to use that. Try to gamble a bit because he was lost at that point. Maybe try to try to gamble a bit there and try to win some material there if you get lucky.
Yeah, facts.
All right. Well, yeah, we're definitely going to see some transcendence in the final game. No idea what else we're going to see. Maybe Fraser's going to use the Pounce and Pair in this one. And I was glad we got to see it in the last one too. It is a really powerful spell if you use it correctly. But yeah, this is really the game that either player who wins is going to be the champion and get that $700. Big prize fund for today. Second place still takes home a pretty fair share, but first place, $700. Second with $400. And then the other guys that we saw play off in the consolation finals just before, third got $300 and fourth with $200. Also with some mate points as well.
That's right. And as you notice, we're playing Anichess because as you play Anichess, you get to have these M8 points. And yep, play Anichess, you get these M8 points through rank, through quick matches. And as you join tournaments, you also get these M8 points plus the cash prizes as well.
Yes, and how long did this particular tournament last of today?
So I think for today, it started about 3 hours ago. But I think originally there was about 1,000 players that started off in this open qualifier, and then it was down to 64 players last night, and yeah, down to the final 8 from today. So both players have already been playing for like 3 hours qualifying and getting into this final, so I imagine they're both a little bit tired at this point.
Yeah, no, and also before qualifying today, they qualified before as well, yeah. So they've gained a more valuable experience coming to this final, yeah.
Yeah, but in total, it's about a week that this tournament has already happened, and yeah, it's really exhausting for some, but having these prizes, I guess, that's worth a while.
And now we're going to jump into the final game. We are seeing both sides with Pengu Dive, yay, and also 2 Transcendence spells, as we predicted. And kind of one of the metas for using Transcendence is the Fianchetto, so that you can because the diagonal that you would come out on if you go through the Fianchetto would be the one that aims towards the queen. So that bishop would go from C1 to A3, round to H4. It's hard without arrows, but all the way towards that queen on D8. And then same with the bishop that can come from F1, H3, A4, and then towards the king. So this is usually a setup you see with
a
Transcendence.
diagonal stride.
Yeah, no, but it's very clear to me what's happened there with the spells. So Both players they took Transcendence because you have to take Transcendence, right? It's the most powerful spell. Then they have one more which is sort of useful, like the Bishop 2.0 and the Slip. And they both took the Penguin just as a mascot for good luck. And both players used the exact same strategy, which is what I suggested initially as well.
Yeah, I agree with the Penguin as being lucky charm or good luck for this match. However, they differ with the Slip and Bishop 2.0. So I'm guessing Slip is also quite useful because we've watched and commentate some of the matches who have used Slip along with Transcendence spell, and it can get really tricky because it seems like this one there's an a5 pawn. However, after slipping through b4 and then later on that queen d8 or the diagonal from d8 all the way to h4 to e1 that can be opened later on.
Yeah, no, there's lots going on there. And it's interesting to know that you can't use the Bishop and Transcendence at the same time, because that would make your Bishop super mega powerful, yeah? It would go through the entire board and then also through some pieces, but that's not something you can do at once, I guess.
Yes, you can't do it at once, but your opponent has to worry about both of those things at once. So I know that when you're facing someone who's using Bishop and Transcendence, it's like you can make threats that threaten both Transcendence and Bishop, and your opponent might only be able to defend against one. So it's a nice combo, actually.
Very smart. Okay, so he's opening the files for the rooks. Now the h4 pawn is somewhat pinned, because I guess he was considering taking the h4 pawn, yeah, with the Transcendence. Now it's...
Yeah, exactly.
Black could also do that, right?
That's one
Black
of the playstyles
you can do it now, no?
so far.
Why not do it now? I think you should do it now, no? You can, can't you?
Transcend all
to
the way
take
to
on
h4?
a5 or...
Yeah, to take. I mean, with black, you can take from with a5 pawn to h4, or no need yet.
Yes,
or with white,
you
take
can,
from h4 to a5. I don't know, like either of the two.
Both of them
makes some sense, I guess.
Yeah, since both of them have 4 mana, so yep, it's up to them who's gonna be taking it through Transcendence.
Wow.
Yeah, that animation is also so cute with the penguin. And Pengu Dive is actually like a really useful spell, because you can just, you know those positions in normal chess where you're like, I wish I could just put a knight on e6 right now, but it's on g8. So you have to like imagine this long knight maneuver where you get the knight to e6. But like Pengu Dive, you just go, okay, I'm gonna put it on e6 right now.
Yeah, very nice, especially for the knights, because knights indeed take a very long time to reach certain squares. Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Pengu Dive. Actually, aside from countering pounds and burr, you can actually use it to make this impossible moves. And yep, you can see that Frasa is quietly getting, engaging here in the queen side. What are your thoughts about this, Hannah? Do you think you're more into Frasa's position or in Elijah's position?
Ooh, okay, let me think for a second. I actually quite like Frasa's combination of spells, I have to say. Like, saving Slip until the end is nice. I just feel like Slip is such a useful spell for the pawns. But right now, maybe I like Elijah's pawn structure. Like, it looks a little bit nicer to look at with those pawns, you know? Frasa has like all these double pawns on the G and F files.
Yeah, nice insights. Actually, I agree with you on that. Based on the spells, I don't think Bishop 2.0 and Transcendence, I don't think they're a good combination, but this is Elijah we're talking about. He's a legend, so maybe he can use Bishop 2.0 while having this Transcendence, since Transcendence can be used on other pieces, not just on bishops, but also to queens, rooks, and your knights.
Yeah, I've got some chess
and,
bias there.
Yeah.
So I kind of like.
What's
Black's,
the chess bias?
Black's good development. Yeah, I mean, just if this would be a chess position, Black would be so much more developed. So I kind of like Black in a way, and I even like the pawns. You know, the pawns you mentioned, these doubled pawns on f7 and f6, g7, g6. kind of like them. I don't know. It gives me a feeling of comfort that there are so many of them there. Also helps with the bishop, for example. Yeah, just doubling the spawns like protects everything behind them. It's like an extra shield for the bishop. Why not?
Yeah,
And for the transcendence
exactly.
too. For the transcendence too, I cover all sorts of diagonals this way.
Yeah, that's usually, as I was saying, how I like to play. If I'm playing against Transcendence, I just want to put pawns in front of my king the whole time. So like, my opponent will never be able to capture my king. That's my only goal, just keep my king as safe as possible. And yeah, with the pawns on f7 and g6, that king is looking pretty safe.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Right now, I don't have. I don't think white king f1 was necessary, but maybe it's a preparation for something. And yeah, both of them have more than. Well, we can see that Elijah is around 1 minute and 30 seconds, and Frasa has more than 2 minutes. So maybe this is one of the playstyle that Frasa has. Maybe she's trying to time attack Elijah and probably, some blunders again on his side. But let's see what's gonna happen next.
You can dive the knight towards b6 with the like I don't know what form, but you could sort of dive it there, right?
Yeah, might not be within range though. I think it needs to be like within a 5x5 grid where your piece is at the center of it, basically. So right now,
at the
it would just
center
be a
of it.
little out
Okay,
of range.
I see.
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize. Yeah. I got it now.
Yeah.
I got it. So
Yeah,
this
rather
is
than
the
like
range.
5 squares away. Yeah.
So you basically you're gonna move knight diagonally. That's what you're gonna do most likely, or like a rook, kind of. Yeah, like a you basically can move the knight like a queen. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
And Pengu Dive can be used like 5 times. It's an underrated spell, actually. I'm planning to study about it,
sure.
maybe make some preparation about it, because I don't think Transcendence
How are you going
is
to
just
prepare?
the meta for this.
How are you going to prepare? How do you prepare this game?
Oh, in Anichess, here in the Philippines, because there's like a friendly match here in Anichess. So if you wanna fight against someone, like you wanna train how you can use Pengu Dive, maybe you can play against that person and just use these spells so that whenever you play ranked match or you participate in this tournament, you can use those skill set that you have already prepared for.
So basically, you're playing training games. That's what you're doing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm playing games against my father, my brothers, and sometimes if I'm ready, I'll play ranked games.
Nice.
Mostly here in Anichess.com.
Wait, can you play OTB Anichess? Has this happened yet?
I think you could, no? You could, like, in theory.
Yeah, I guess we've tried that, but blindfold. It's like we're imagining. Okay, I have like 1, 2, like that.
No, it's not possible. No, it's really not possible. You can try it, but you're not gonna.
Yeah, you can.
It's so hard.
I mean,
but I think it's really
You just
really
try.
nice, especially to do it in. Yeah. But I think the nice thing about doing it on Anichess itself and not on the real board is because you can then know exactly which move is legal, which is not. Yeah, because otherwise you could by accident, like, you know what I mean, make an illegal like.
Or like
Yeah,
transcend
exactly.
the wrong diagonal or something.
Something like that, and the opponent might not catch it, or you might have like. So it's cleaner if it's on Anichess itself.
Yeah, it can happen, especially if you're not so honest with your opponent. I'll transcend this piece
imagine
over there.
He's not. Or imagine your opponent is a beginner, and you start to like gaslight him into saying that no, you can do this. You know.
Yeah, I can imagine now.
Like you
That's
could definitely,
possible. And,
with me, you could definitely pull off a lot of shenanigans like that because I've got no clue.
Okay, then we can say we beat
transcend
Anish,
left to
Giri,
right.
and chess.
Wow, look, he's used the a4 pawn to attack, and now he opened the files for the rook, and suddenly White's got initiative there on the king side. I really like White's position suddenly. Okay, so d5 pawn is protected by the knight with the Pengu dive, kind of, isn't it?
The Pengu dive can only go to an open square, so it can't capture a
It
piece.
can't capture. Okay, so it doesn't protect
Yeah.
anything. Okay, makes sense. So then why don't you take the pawn on d5? Is there anything stopping white from
That's
taking?
what
He's
I'm
just maybe
wondering.
not
Maybe
needed.
the problem
The
is,
time.
okay, if you
Maybe
take
it's
the
the
pawn on
time.
d5, transcendence, bishop to a4 comes out on the h3 square, takes the king on f1. Right?
Ah, got it.
Didn't solve it.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's why you couldn't take the knight.
Sneaky.
That's why he's.
A clever
Yeah.
diversion.
Yeah.
Slipping into position.
Yeah, and right
So
now
what are your
they're both
guys'
in panic
ratings
mode.
at this? Yeah, no, total panic. Let's just enjoy the panic. To be honest, let's just focus on that.
Yeah.
Black is looking like crashing. Black is probably crashing and has 10 seconds more. But let's enjoy the panic.
Yeah.
Oh,
Enjoying
Pengu
the
dive
right
is
now.
also really good. Yeah, it's good for defending, right? Like you can run with the king.
It didn't. Yeah, but he can't hide. So. Oh, go to b1. Oh, that was the point.
To be one.
Yeah.
He's hiding. He's hiding actually. Oh no!
Oh, look at that!
No!
Upset. Transcendence.
Oh, so Frasa wins.
Transcendence. Yeah, Frasa won this match. All right, we got ourselves our winner. Frasa won against Elijah. What a beautiful match.
Yeah, I swear this transcendence spell in low time, it's just like so powerful. You don't even
need
have
some
to
insane
like
3D
even
awareness.
know. Yeah, but you could even just like check what legal moves you have. Maybe the king is hanging somewhere.
Hard. I mean, just awareness of the chessboard is difficult. Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, you need to be completely aware of the left and right edges of the board, and at the same time about the time as well, because they have like in panic mode, so it's really difficult to keep track of everything. And yeah, if you're the one who can keep track of everything, then you're gonna be the winning player in that match.
Wild stuff, guys. I really tremendously enjoyed this and this match and watching this final. Very very impressed with these players because I would have to study so hard and be so aware to come anywhere near this level. So I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for having me as part of this. I really enjoyed it and hope to work more with you in the future and commentate more exciting matches.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining and the commentating with these legendary matches. And yeah, we're looking forward to having some collaborations and partnerships with you. Hannah, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, this was just such a fun and exciting match. I mean, it's really cool to see people who are just such specialists at a variant of chess. I mean, we've seen so many high-level chess tournaments for a long time, but seeing an Anichess tournament and the people that have put all this time into learning all these new rules, it's really cool to see. And yeah, it was so much fun commentating with you guys, learning a little bit more about all the spells myself as well. And yeah, really enjoyed it. And congratulations again to Frasa.
Congrats, Frasa. Thank you very much, Anichess with Grandmaster Anish here as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yep.
No, I think Anish Chess is going to depart, but Anish Chess is there to stay. So guys, do join and enjoy the game. Thank you guys. Bye.
All right. Okay. Congratulations again to all the participants. And that was an incredible ride. And to all the players who gave their all, thank you for bringing the energy, the strategy, the tactics, and the spell slinging drama that made this tournament so fun and incredible to watch. Win or lose, every matches here had something special, and you all made this event truly unforgettable. So, yep, that's me, Johnfdong, and yep, it's me, Hannah. Hannah, do you want to say anything before we end?
Oh, well, I think you said a lot and it was all really good, and thank you so much. And yeah, just the same as you, it was so much fun, and I appreciate Anichess and also ChessBase India coming together to host a really exciting tournament with prize fund up for grabs. Really cool to see it, and yeah, thank you. And I hope that we'll be coming back for some future ones. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, from us, the whole team, and the
Oh.
amazing community behind the scenes. Thank you again. Until next time, keep playing, keep casting, and stay magical. This was Spells Rush. See you soon. And this isn't just any chess; it's Anichess.